Hello, 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 and welcome aboard Illuminated Page. How is everybody doing tonight? I am so glad that you have joined us. Me and my players are thrilled to have you here. But yeah, this is the show where we investigate eldritch terrors and try to preserve what sanity we have left. So, should be fun. Today, we continue our journey through horror on the Orient Express from Chaosium Incorporated. My name is Rue, and I'll be your keeper of arcane lore for the evening. I am joined, as ever, by my wonderful cast of characters. Let's start with Alla.
Hi everyone, I'm Alla, and I'm playing Emily Bront, who is a veteran of the Great War and the party's babysitter.
Absolutely, we need it. Next, well, let's go to Alyssa.
Hey everybody, I'm Alyssa. I play Cleo. She is the group's occultist, and she lost some sanity last week because she read a book. So do as she says, not as she does.
Does happen exactly? You know that is a thing that usually you would tell us to avoid.
Mhm.
But next on my list, I have Matt.
Hey, I am playing Countess Johanna Rinaldi Stad. I am the party piggy bank, I guess.
We have to have it. Somebody's
Yeah.
got to fund this expenditure.
Right.
Except, you did just get handed £1,000 last
So we can
week.
get like 3 bananas, right?
Uh, with inflation in today's money, yes, but
Yeah.
in 1923, where we are, you could go back and forth on the Orient Express like 15 times or something.
There you go.
But and then finally we have Shawn.
Hi, I'm Shawn. I'm playing Kelsey Haskins, the group's liberator of piggy banks.
no, that was actually the most the most honest description of Kelsey's job that we've gotten so far. So that was wonderful.
We're so proud of you.
It's my side gig.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of, I did the air quotes, but it wasn't an actual bingo checkoff. But if you do want to do bingo with us, we do have bingo cards for this show in our Discord. If you're interested, we can drop some links. But keep up with the shenanigans and have some fun. Interact with your bingo card. I have no prize to give you, but the true reward is the fun you'll have while you play the game. So I also want to take a moment and introduce and thank John, my wonderful partner, who is off camera, who is running the stream for us and interacting in chat, probably as both Rook and Rasp and as John Passanerdly. But yeah, he'll be running the sounds for us. So if you guys have any technical problems, just at him in the chat, and he will do what he can to make sure that we are coming to you as best as we possibly can. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. And just a brief look ahead before we get started, I wanted to mention tomorrow night we have another episode of Star Trek Adventures: The Voyages of at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow night, Robin Jacobo will be running our story there. I do not have in front of me who's in that episode.
I do. If you give me like 2 seconds, 'cause I
Sean
just
is
click
going to be
right
in it.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our Dr. Keed, our ambassador Zeke, first officer Halada, and then Rosrin, who will be paranoid about Cardassians.
That means I'm getting shot again.
Why? I mean, I think everyone should be at all times 100% paranoid about Cardassians because
I mean,
they are a problem.
You're not wrong.
No.
In that space universe, very rarely have they shown that they are doing something good. So,
It's true.
don't like to paint in generalizations, except for that one, I guess. So, on Tuesday, we're going to return to By Leaps and Bounties, which is our 7th Sea 2nd edition playthrough that stars Alla for one, and I'm in there. John is in there, and then our friend Michael, and it's run by Danielle Delisle, who has written for all kinds of things in the TTRPG world. You've probably got a book on your shelf if you like indie RPGs. You probably have a book on your shelf with her name in it.
Also, the aforementioned ever paranoid security officer.
That's right. She does play Rosrin. so we like to just mix it up on here.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, we have Seriously Let's Play Overlight from Renegade Games and I believe Hunters Entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's a very unique, if you've never played it or ever seen it, it is a beautiful RPG that takes place in a world that it has like fractured sky islands, and a light shines, the overlight, if you will, shines down from above, and each level of these sky islands only gets a filtered color of light that reaches them. So all the way down at the bottom, I think, is where only red light reaches, and then as you go up, more colors can reach different places. It kind of blows my mind. I watched a playthrough of it years ago on Geek and Sundry. I think that was like 2018-ish with Elisa Pearl and a bunch of other people. And it looks really cool, but we're going to try to run it. John's going to run it for a one-shot this weekend. So please tune in for that. It's if you've never heard of it, I think it would be worth your while to check it out and kind of get a little bit more information on it because it's a beautiful book.
Oh, the art looks gorgeous.
Has anybody here played it?
I've looked at the artwork though.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I never saw a lot of people do a lot with it online, but it certainly looked cool enough that I was kind of sad that nobody was doing it. And we weren't doing anything back then, so couldn't have been us. But now it is. As it is, though, let's take a moment, and we're going to roll some luck advances. Now, I'm going to do this a little differently than we've been doing. I actually want you to roll a luck advance as you're supposed to in the book. Go ahead and roll a percentile. Do a D100 roll. If you roll, was it above? If you roll above your number, you can get a D6. Now, when we do luck advances, if the chat buys it, you'll just roll a straight D6. We're going to treat it like you succeeded on a luck advance roll. But this way, because I know some of our people are completely maxed out.
Can I spend 4 points of luck to get above so I can do a reroll?
You may not.
No reroll for me.
Imagine spending that luck and then like rolling a 1 on the advance.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
And we're doing 1d6 if we made that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was clearly tired when I wrote my little note in here for it because I said roll D100 and if under, increase luck buck 1d6. So increase your luck bucks, kids.
Luck bucks.
Revan is reminding us that we have 3 luck advances and 3 table rerolls.
Do we? Oh, I think we actually
has a personal.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. Well, I know we had the rerolls. I should probably do that in chat, but we'll have to do that later. If somebody wants to, if a moderator would like to type reroll plus and see how many rerolls are in there, you can start using those exclam codes to maintain a running tally.
There are now 2.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and run another one because that's probably I'm supposed to reset
Oh.
the rerolls at the end of every stream, and
I forgot the exclamation mark.
Yep.
exclam. All right. So, have we all rolled our lucks?
I didn't get
Maybe in
luck.
about an hour, I'll let you roll one of those other luck advances that came in. If they weren't personal, were they personal luck advances or were they table luck advances?
wanna
It
say
says table
Alyssa had
has.
one
Table.
personal one.
Yeah.
No, Cleo had one personal reroll.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think
Oh, a
they were
personal
just table
Yeah.
luck advances.
Okay. Well, maybe in an hour, I will let you roll some more just to get those off the table. Because, or I mean, if you guys just be like, hey, can we roll that luck advance right now? I'm feeling a little short. We can do that. So, but yeah, if we're all good,
Yeah.
I say let's get into character and be prepared to join our team. Let me give you a brief recapitulation of recent events. With the investigators at his bedside, Professor Smith revealed more information about his secret work. Turned out to be a search for a dark artifact known as the Sedefkar Simulacrum, or Sedefkash Simulacrum. Let me actually use my pronunciation guide, and its accompanying Sedefkash scrolls. As much as he could, he stressed the importance of bringing the disparate pieces of the statue back together and taking it to Constantinople where it could finally be destroyed. After the professor fell asleep from the effort of talking with you all, Beddoes also told you that he wanted you to fund their search, or that Smith wanted to fund your search, giving you £1,000 and telling you that Smith had planned to travel on the famed Orient Express, primarily because its route went through all the places where pieces of this statue or the scrolls had been located. After that, our heroes departed to investigate the Crescent Treasury that night, which was Mehmet Makriat's shop, and finding very little of import. If I remember correctly, you found a notice in a ledger. Not a whole lot about him. A guy walked out that I'd put in front of you to ask him some questions about Mehmet Makriat, and the two people outside did not do the thing. So you know nothing about him except for he bought a toy train set.
And he played cards on Saturday nights. We know that.
That's right.
We got
That's
that
right.
very important bit.
And they then retired to Johanna's home to discuss their next steps. The following morning, which was January 7th, an article about a man going missing under suspicious circumstances after buying a toy from the thrice dead Mehmet Makriat. The toy that you all saw had been bought and sold recently in his shop. That man had went missing, and you then spent the majority of the day at the reading room at the British Museum. Today, we rejoin them. The morning of January 8th, Mrs. Dandridge and Rinaldi Stodd returning to the reading room, while Mrs. Brandt and Mr. Haskins are off to the home of the recently disappeared Henry Stanley. And we will join the latter as they set off into a gloomy, dreary, rainy London late morning. And so, yeah, let's see. You looked up some information. The article, do y'all remember the article, or would you like me to read it again as you prepare to? I did drop the article in your handout folder, but if you'd like me to read it again, I can. Would you like it again?
Yes.
Yes,
Answers?
for the
Okay,
audience.
cool.
Yes.
For the audience.
Yeah, not
Man.
for us. We remember
Of course,
everything.
you remember everything
But-
verbatim. Man disappears in cloud of smoke. Spontaneous human combustion? Link to triple murders case? Police are today investigating the disappearance of Mr. Henry Stanley, 41, of Stoke Newington, who was reported missing last night by his landlady, Mrs. Constance Atkins. She alleges that she heard a cry from Mr. Stanley's upstairs room at 8 o'clock. He did not answer to her knocking, and when she opened the door, the room was full of smoke and there was no sign of him. Mr. Stanley is not married. He is a noted train enthusiast and member of the London Train Spotters Association. His disappearance may be a case of spontaneous human combustion. Police have refused to comment on this. Similar cases have been reported in England earlier this century, the most recent known was that of Mr. J. Temple Thurston, who burned to death in his home in Dartford, Kent in 1919. Out of character, that is something that you can look up. That was a believed to be case of spontaneous human combustion, and it is very real article you can pull up. It has been revealed that a model train set found on the scene had been purchased last week from the shop of Mehmet Makriet. The child's toy may have caused the fire. Readers may recall that 3 bodies, all identified as Mr. Makriet, were found earlier this week in a Chelsea hotel room. Police have not ruled out the possibility of a link between the 2 cases.
And we discussed in chat that the train was formerly owned by Randolph Alexis,
Yes.
who was a
Yes.
member of the Cold Dawn and the Silver Twilight.
Well, the train set was not owned by Randolph Alexis. It was owned by his son.
Okay. And his son was, or Randolph Alexis was the occultist or the member of the Silver Twilight.
Yes, he was a member of both, or he had links to both the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Golden Dawn. Oh, that's a G, not a C.
And didn't his son also die by mysterious circumstances and there was smoke?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
the
there's
train
some weird
murders people. Got it.
Yes. There's some
Murder
weird
train, yep.
stuff happening here. So yeah, I actually believe that Cleo found a book in Johanna's library about famous occultists in Britain that discussed Mr. Alexis Sr., Randolph Alexis, and how he had died while traveling to Liverpool in a train derailment in 1897. So,
It's a lot of
First
bad
murder train.
train times. Yeah.
right.
I'm not
and
feeling
then, yeah.
so excited about this train ride we're going to take now.
Right. And his son, who also was known to have some interest in the dark arts, did go missing in a suspiciously similar circumstances to Mr. Stanley in 1917. But he is commonly believed to have been murdered by person or persons unknown because a few drops of dried blood were found. And the smoke-filled room suggested that the assassins had tried to burn the house in order to conceal their crime. So, any further questions before we follow Ms. Brandt and Mr. Haskins as they approach the bedsit where Henry Stanley lived in Stoke Newington?
I think I'm good to go forward.
Alrighty. So, the 2 of you travel by common. What is the word I'm looking for? Mundane means to
Taxi.
to the bedsit. Yeah, probably taxi. I was looking for a fancier word. Nobody teleported magically to Stoke Newington. You all took normal ways. Henry Stanley lived in a bedsit in Stoke Newington. You arrived. The police have long gone. Remember he'd went missing now over 24 hours ago. It was not last night. It was the night before. And in the rain, as you approach the house, you see that there is a sign that had chalk writing on it that is kind of getting washed away by the rain that says, "See the death room, 6 pence." So,
Well, I was going to ask how we were going to get in here, but
Yeah, I guess we're going to play tourist.
right. As you get closer, another sign, handwritten and in the front window, reads "Room to let." so
hopefully more than 6 pence.
yeah, no intelligence roll needed to realize that these 2 signs are indeed due to the same circumstance. They are related. So yeah.
Well, I guess do we want to pay the 6 pence or pretend we're looking for a room to rent?
let's just pay the 6 pence.
Might be easier.
All right. Do you knock on the door?
Yeah, I'll knock.
All right. You knock on the door. It's but a moment before a stout woman with curlers in her hair, in a dressing gown or bathrobe type look. She opens the door, it kind of flies open, and she's like, "Ah!
Oh my!
Are you here to see the death house? I say."
There's a whole house? I thought it was just a room.
Well, it's a room, but it's in the house. You want to see it? Please come in.
I share a look with Emily, like, yeah, let's go.
she kind of she shows you in. She kind of flutters about you. She's like, oh, you're here to see the death room, yes, sir. Ever so strange it was, yes, yes. He was Mr. Stanley was a bit of a quiet type, bit of an oddball, they always are. My husband was a bit quiet as well, but yeah, she's just going on, like
Like, did he
hard.
also combust?
Yeah.
right. Right.
If I can get a word in edgewise, do you often have death rooms? Because you seem very excited about it.
That's why, because I don't often have death rooms. Of course. I mean, here. If you're interested in the death room, let me show you a picture of Mr. Stanley. And she she pulls a picture out. And she's like, I take pictures of all me lodges, and she shows you the picture and
Creepy at all.
huh?
Not creepy at all.
Not creepy at all.
It's for
not creepy
security
at all.
reasons, I'm sure.
Do you have any questions? Would you like me to tell you about it? The newspaper got a lot of the details right, but I do know a few more things, that maybe the papers didn't print. You see,
We would love to hear that, yeah.
Fantastic. Please do sit. I'll and there's already like a kettle set out with tea in it. Like she's been waiting for people to show up, and she's like, I won't even charge you for the stories. You can only the 6 pences if you actually want to see the room, mind. But please do sit. Have some tea if you'd like. And she's got all the accoutrements. She's got sugar cubes. She's got honey. She's got lemon. She's got a little milk carafe there. But she says, so there I was yesterday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, not yesterday. I'm getting my days confused. 2 days ago, about 4 o'clock, Mr. Stanley comes home, as he always does. Just in time for tea. He loves to take high tea with me. It's wonderful. And he was very excited because he purchased a new train set. Can you imagine that? A grown man interested in a train set, but whatever. As I said, he was a little bit of an odd sort. And he went upstairs at 7 after tea and dinner, and I didn't see him again. But about 8 o'clock, I heard a shout, "Oh!" from the upstairs room. Well, I don't know what's going on, but I don't like anybody getting injured in my houses. So I ran upstairs and I was like, Mr. Stanley, Henry, please open the door. Are you all right? And he did not answer. It didn't answer the door at all. I heard nothing else. There had been like a weird rumble about the time that he screamed, so I didn't know if maybe, I don't know what he gets into up there. Maybe he blew something up. But so I entered in the door. There were smoke in the room. The window was closed and bolted from the inside, and he was gone.
Was the door locked, or?
The door was not locked, no.
Okay. Did
He very rarely locked his door. He was a very trusting sort of man.
Now, you say you did not hear anything else. Did you smell anything?
And it smelled a bit like smoke. But I didn't see signs really of besides the bloody room was full of smoke. Like, it was like London fog, but in me house. And it was just, it was all this, and he just wasn't there. But I opened the window and fanned it out.
And no fire?
No, not that I saw.
Did you see any scorch marks? Like a fire had been burning?
Well, now you're asking questions that sound like maybe you better just pay the 6 pence and go see for yourself, isn't it?
Well, can I ask one more question before we pay the 6 pence, if I may?
Oh, you're kind of handsome, sure.
Has there anyone else been here to see the death room?
Oh, so many. And she picks up like a little box and she shakes it, and you can just hear coins all through it. And she's like, oh, people are fascinated. It's not every day that someone just goes missing in a cloud of smoke. Unless you go to one of the magician shows, but this was real. Mr. Stanley was not clever enough to be a magician, I can promise you.
Any of them with particularly big mustaches?
I don't think so. It's been mostly young people.
No.
The odd housewife looking for a day out, Would you like to see the room?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Please.
Fantastic.
Hand over the 12 pence.
Oh, wonderful. blink, blink, right
And
into the
another
little box.
12 to ensure your discretion that we visited.
Is this a secret outing? Are you two not married then? I'll never tell a soul. Just let me know
Thank
what
you.
your husband looks like and what your missus looks like, and if they show up, nary a word will be spoken.
Actually, we would prefer nary a word to anybody.
Oh. Well, I will tell you, if you plan to use the room for something else, it's going to be a hell of a lot more than 24 pence.
We are merely curious, as anyone else is, but we
Okay,
want to keep it
okay.
a secret from
Okay,
our
please,
families.
please, follow me, follow me. I'll show you the room. I'll show you the room.
We don't want word to our church leaders that we're looking at something as macabre as a death room.
Oh, as if Vicar Dudley wasn't here earlier. It's fine. Come on. And she leads you up some stairs. She takes you to the room. She's collected your money, and as she goes up to the stairs, she's like, "Mind you, don't touch anything. Or don't be, at least, if you want to touch it, fine, but don't be taking anything."
Our word.
Okay. Well, I'll trust you. Like I said, you're handsome. And so she lets you in. I will tell you right off the bat, the train is not here anymore. The police did take the train. So it was an electrical device, and she lets you. She's like, "Yeah, it was an electrical device," and the police were like, "Since it seems to be the only thing that might have hurt him, it's got to come with us." So they did take that. So it is not there. But so she lets you in, and it's a standard bed sit. The book actually calls it a standard cold water bed sitting room, the kind inhabited by lonely people everywhere. So if that gives you an idea of the kind of place it is, there is a door in the east wall, which you presume to possibly be a closet, and a window in the west wall. The everything in there, like the walls, there's all kinds of things, all focused on trains. It was his abiding interest, was trains. When it called him a train enthusiast, he was enthusiastically all about the trains. So it's full of books and pictures about railways, about engines, different train projects, and the history thereof of all these things. As you look around, go ahead and give me just for grins, because I want to hear some clicky clacks rolling. Give me a spot hidden while I mute my Discord.
That'll be a 7. That's an extreme success.
Oh, okay. Well, fantastic.
Just a regular success for me.
Just 1 second, y'all.
You could spend some luck and make that, like...
I don't know if I can get any better than
Yeah, I guess you can't make it a critical.
No.
But yeah.
Or can I? That'd be cool.
I mean, you could. You don't need to. What I was going to tell you was not that fancy. I just wanted to hear some dice rolling. Interestingly, as you look around the room, you do notice that the tops of some items and books they do bear a thin layer of soot.
Okay.
Which you do find very interesting.
Any markings on the ground?
Okay, so yes, when looking at the ground, you do notice, and with that spot hidden, you definitely notice this. You see long, black, parallel smudges on the dark floral carpet. Can I get... And they run northwest to southeast.
Okay.
Are they roughly train...
Give me an education roll.
I don't know. You might want to give me a bit of a roll.
30...
Regular success.
1 under a hard success at 34.
Okay, then yes, they are the width. They are what you, with fair certainty, believe to be about train track width apart. If you look up at the ceiling, you do notice that there are dark sooty streaks across the ceiling in a pattern also from northwest to southeast.
It's like the smokestack just... Is that what we're seeing?
Maybe.
Or...
You're seeing some dark sooty streaks, and as you're kind of doing this, Miss Stanley is standing out in the hallway, and she's like, or Miss Adkins, and she's like, "I can assure you we saw that. The police mentioned that, and they asked me several times if Mr. Stanley was a smoker. He was not. He was a teetotaler. No drinks, no smokes." None of the above. So,
Well,
pretty
you
sure. Looking at that, the boy's bent to a crisp.
no,
It's
you
tragic, but I'm pretty certain that's the only explanation.
no, you're
It would
right.
smell different in here.
Yeah.
She gives you a look like, oh.
Well, no, I think she means that if he had been a smoker, it would smell different in here.
Yes, that is what I meant, yes.
Oh, I thought you meant if he'd been bent to a crisp, which clearly he was.
But that's an interesting thing. Now that Emily has mentioned, is there a smell of someone burning in here?
No.
Interesting.
It doesn't even really smell at this point like smoke. You're just seeing all these remnants of it. Another thing that with that 7 you'll notice is as you inspect the walls, there are bubbles under the wallpaper, as though somebody had tried to like maybe steam it, and the adhesive has loosened.
And what is the landlady's name again, please?
Mrs. Constance Atkins, at your service.
Miss Atkins.
Yes, dear.
The wallpaper, has it always been bubbly like that?
Absolutely. No, I keep this place in tip-top shape. I had all these redone even before Mr. Stanley came here. That's new. I think when he lit a flame, as you know he did, clearly, when he went and just completely immolated, I think it just kind of heated up the wall there.
I'm going to ask
We're just lucky he didn't burn the whole bloody house down.
I'm going to ask a very gruesome question. So pardon me for. Was there a body found? Any parts of his body?
No, it was. I can't imagine where he's gone, but I'm pretty sure he just burnt up. I mean, look at all these smudges on the ground and things. It's probably him.
Well, I'm gonna look at Emily and be like, fire that hot. I think there'd be more damage, wouldn't you?
Usually, yes. I wonder if these marks are just part of his hobby.
No,
that
these
he
are
was
new.
trying to-
These are new. This new. It's him.
Maybe he was just so excited that he got some new trains.
He
wanted
left
to...
skid marks on my floor?
Well,
Couldn't
train
even say
marks
that in
is
an
what
accent.
I'm going for, but
The train wasn't that big. I mean, it was a train set. He carried it in one hand.
But did he just? Was there? This is a weird question. Was there tracks? Before the police took it away, was the train set up to run on a track?
Yes. So the train itself, if I remember correctly, when I came in the room and the smoke cleared out, it was on like a big board that had a track set up in some sort of pattern, and the train was still sitting on it.
do you remember where it was in the room?
It was on this floor right here.
But the pattern was like wavy. It wasn't like the straight line like we're seeing on the floor and on the ceiling.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, it was like kind of like a figure eight, you know.
And the burnt tracks on the floor, are they toy size?
No, they are. Oh, did we lose you, Shawn?
Uh-oh.
We lost Shawn. I will repeat it when he comes back. You back, Shawn?
Yeah, so that was weird. All of a sudden, it just went bloop.
Yeah. Can we see your lovely face, Mr. Haskins? Miss Atkins is like, where'd he go?
I got on the train and left.
There we go. No, the tracks that you see on the ground are most definitely that you saw with that education roll. It looks like real train track width, like big freaking train that holds like people, real sized people.
I think these are blowy questions. Did he start the train and like a phantom train show up and just... I'm just rambling to Emily because it doesn't make sense.
Well, Mrs. Atkins is like, are you feeling all right, dear?
Oh,
You need more tea. I've got some water
Yeah,
as well.
we would love some more tea. Thank you. If you don't mind, we will just look around.
Don't touch anything that I wouldn't. And she runs off.
Immediately pulls out a handkerchief. Emily's gonna pull out a handkerchief and collect some of the dust, or Like just
The
from
soot
like
kind of
the
stuff?
soot
Okay.
stuff from on top of something, just for I don't know. We might have been dealing with ghosts before, but a ghost train is a
Well,
bit far-fetched.
you remember Cleo told us the original owner, his father died on a train, so maybe a ghost train. And poor Miss. I mean, do you have a better explanation for train-sized tracks in this apartment? Do they like run from wall to wall, Roxy? From what we can see.
Yeah, they run the length of the room going northwest to southeast, I believe. Is that what it's, yeah, northwest to southeast. They actually match the smudges that the sooty smudges you see on the ceiling as well.
But this might sound insane, but as the professor mentioned, these moments of parallel realities.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps there was a train here at one point in time in history.
Tied to the toy train, maybe? Is that what I was
Well,
thinking?
I don't know if the toy train had anything to do with it. We'd have to find it and confirm, but
I wonder. I'm really curious about the pattern. Let's make sure that we tell Cleo about
oh
the
well,
pattern,
of
because
course.
that might be something ritualistic.
If
I
only
mean,
we've had a camera.
A moment later, Miss Atkins bustles back up into the room and she's carrying 2 cups of tea, which she hands you. And she was like, I don't mean to eavesdrop in things, but if you'd like to see more about the train, like I said, the police do have it. I can give you the card of the policeman. You are two strange individuals. Most people just want to come up and go, ooh. But you're up here asking a bunch of really strange questions, and I don't know how comfortable I feel about it. Are you investigators? Are you with the police and undercover? Are you trying to... Did I do something wrong here?
We work adjacent to Scotland
I
Yard.
mean, I'm a woman alone. I have to get my rent some way, and now that he's gone and disappeared, the 6 pence is not much. I mean, I'm not trying to do anything
well, do you want
mean.
the truth of why we're really here?
Do you lean forward conspiratorially
Yes.
when...
Yeah. And I'm
Oh,
going
well,
to be
she
my
does...
most charming.
Kind of wink a little while you're at it.
We're actually
Please do tell.
insurance adjusters. We're trying to determine the cause of his death because he actually had quite a large insurance policy. So any information you can give that will let us prove that he truly is deceased, you might find yourself in a bit of a windfall if you had no other relatives.
Well, I mean, I've told you most of what I know. As I said, that it went to the place. It went. They took. She's kind of like mesmerized by this American who's telling her about a lot of money and is kind of handsome, and she's just like, well, I mean, as I said, the police took the train set. Are you into trains?
I mean, I've taken them to work, but
You don't play with them like toys, though, right?
Oh no, God, heavens no!
Already one up. Okay. As I said, he was fascinated with these trains, and but yeah, they took the train because it was electrical, and they believe that perhaps a brief electrical shock had like burnt him to a crisp, as I said. I don't, and it's just poor Mr. Stanley. If there's anything that I can tell you about anything else, I would love to help you in just your insurances. But really, that's all that happened. I really don't know.
Well, if you could make sure that
The window was locked and bolted. He didn't kill himself. I know that sometimes that
well, that would definitely
plays a part.
disqualify the policy.
No, it was
yes.
locked and bolted. There's only
if you
one way out of the house too. So like if he'd come down the stairs, I would have seen him. I was reading my Silver Stars right down there in the chair.
So, if you want to make sure that you can help us in the best way possible, make sure that nobody touches this. Because if we need to come back and maybe get a sample of the carpet to see what burnt it.
You mean you need me to stop showing it?
No, you can still show it. Oh, I want you to earn whatever you can while we're investigating this policy.
Thank you.
But I just want to make sure that no one touches it. Maybe don't replace the carpet yet.
Oh, absolutely not. The carpet and the ceiling and the soot and everything kind of sells it.
Well, I also know that you have a sign downstairs that you have a room for rent, so you can't rent
I
it
can
out
take
yet.
that. I can take that out the window.
Okay.
I can take that out the window. I mean, I don't actually expect anybody to take it. Most people have come by and they're like, "Oh, you're renting the room," and I'm like, "Haha, yeah, but somebody died in here," and they're usually like, "Oh, don't want to live there."
Well, I
But
think
I'll take the sign out of the window.
I
I can do
think
that.
I think we've taken enough of your time. Miss Brandt, do you think that we could give her a bit of a stipend for her to hold the room so that we can come back if we need to investigate?
I'm
The
sure
eyes
we can
say
work
so
out
many things.
something agreeable. Yeah.
I mean, you've already given me 24 pence. That's 4 showings. But I mean, if you wanted to give me a little more, I'd take it.
Well, we're asking you not to rent out the room, so I mean, we don't know how long the investigation could take. We may need to come back in another 2 or 3 weeks. So we just want you to hold this room as it is. And so you definitely deserve a stipend as we investigate and come
Thank
to
you. Thank
conclusion
you
on this
so much.
policy.
Whatever you think is best.
What was Mr. Stanley's rent?
Oh, Mr. Stanley was renting the room for about £2 a week.
How
Come
about
now.
£4? And you will
Sounds
hold it for
wonderful.
a month.
That's a month.
For a month.
I mean, I guess.
You will
As
not
long
have
as
to clean it if nobody is here.
just make sure that endurance is adjusted in my name,
Oh, of course. I will work tirelessly to make sure that you can get this money.
You sure you're not an undercover cop or anything like that?
Oh.
Trying to get me for fraud.
With
Tried
this
that
accident,
after Mr. Atkins died, and it was a bunch of malarkey, that.
Oh, do you think a investigator from Scotland Yard could fake an accent like mine?
No. No. Your accent has a special tinge of dullness to it that only a real American can give.
But we would like to.
Good
have
thing
the
you're handsome.
We would love the investigators' information, though, in case we need to
Yes.
follow up on the.
Train.
Yes.
Absolutely. She, in fact, gives you a card with the officer who had investigated it. Do I have a name for him? Let's see. I do not.
Yeah.
But it's Dutyman so and so, and he it's got the address of the local precinct and his name where you can go and talk to him if you do desire.
Yeah.
So, but with that, she's like, "Well, I believe I heard my bell ringing downstairs, which means that I've got 6 more pence to earn." So she runs downstairs, and as she goes downstairs and shows you out, you do see that she does pick the room to let sign up, and she tucks it behind the curtain where nobody can see it.
Emily will pay her for pounds, begrudgingly.
She happily takes those and she drops them right into the little pence box that she's been keeping all of her admission fees in. So, but yeah, that was Miss Constance Atkins, guys. The description of her is wonderful. But yeah, so just just so you know, that wasn't.
As we're walking out, I'll look at Emily and be like, "That's all it takes is just promise of a windfall of money, and you will get all the information you can ever use."
You don't even feel a little bad?
Yeah. She might be putting her entire life on hold in hopes of acquiring this money.
I can almost guarantee after a month, when we don't show back up, that she will put that sign back up, and she will rent that room in a heartbeat. So she's not out anything.
So where would you like to go now? Would you like to join your friends at the reading room, or would you like to? And we'll get to Cleo and Johanna in just one moment.
I don't want to see what.
Or would you like to go and talk to the police?
I kind of want to go see that train, but
Yeah.
I don't think they'll give it to us.
Well, we could always draw a picture of it, try and trace or draw the track so we can get a clue of that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have a camera. I don't have the skill for a camera.
Well, worst comes worst, mate. What if we can buy the train off of them? What are they going to do? Are they experts on trains?
Yeah, no, we can definitely do that.
This isn't a high profile,
Do we
Murder.
lean into the insurance adjusters, or do you want to go as the affluent Austrian train collector?
Let's go with the insurance adjuster. I feel like that is the more believable sell.
Lean into their greed.
Yeah. And
All
we'll
right.
probably have some experts that can analyze the the electrical workings of the train. This is how we make our bread and butter, after all.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well,
that sounds like a plan.
all right. Well, as you both depart for the local police station, I am going to go back to Johanna and Cleo as they continue their researches in the library there. I should have wrote down all the stuff I told you last time, but I didn't.
Yeah, that's you. That is a it's a bane of my existence when I run stuff, when I give a lot of information.
Yeah, so I know that I told you a little bit about you guys looked up Sedef Cache, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the Red Tower and the Crusades.
Yeah,
right?
it was raided during the Fourth Crusade.
Yes.
Yep.
And from there, we lost track of it until the French Revolution.
Okay. Okay. And did I give you
Or the
a
statue we lost
name?
track of.
Okay.
But yeah, that was this the Death Cache.
Sedef
That was
Cache,
lost.
yeah, so
Lost until the French Revolution.
right. And then did I give you any names or anything or places where it showed up during the French Revolution?
No.
Oh God, yes.
Oh, did they? Or did
Oh,
she?
during the French Revolution? No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the list of where we know known pieces of it are now.
Oh, okay. So, let me go to the part where, because I know I gave you guys way more information than the book wanted me to, because there's a lot of information that there is no way you'll ever know, and I don't want to wait like till the end of this campaign to give you some of this information if it's not necessarily.
Did we track down Cleo's hint from her mentor?
Yeah, she had. That was the book that made her lose sanity.
Oh, right.
Gotta love that, but
I do like
if
that Chad
your mentor had read it, she's also lost the same amount of sanities.
I like that Chad is encouraging the lies to the police that are coming.
Oh yeah, that is on your bingo card.
Yeah, it's
Anyone
a bingo
lies
card.
to law enforcement. Yep.
Well, we haven't lied yet.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, it's
Mark the spot.
Kelsey is going to the police. Lies will happen.
That's right. So I believe I did tell you with that there were some manuscripts mentioned under the name of Sedef Cache in the museum in Constantinople. I believe I did tell you all that. Just before the Great War. So that was a fairly recent note of the scrolls. There wasn't a whole bunch about, but I told you about the Red Tower. So we also kind of told you about, I believe I told you about Sedef Cache and how he was kind of like a crazy guy, right?
Yeah.
That he had fallen from Islam, ended up in Constantinople, had a great treasure, and then it was raided in the Fourth Crusade. Yes. Did I mention a Comte at any point associated with the statue?
Not according to my notes.
Okay. This is in Paris, so go ahead and give me, if you're both kind of, are you working together now, or are you still following separate lines of investigation?
I assume we're working together.
I think that's probably a good idea. It is a rainy day outside of the British Museum. The museum is actually quite quiet. Nobody seems to want to get out much. The reading room is very quiet. You do notice at least one other person hunched over some books across the room from you, but you are both ignoring him or them with you're focused on what you're doing. So you're doing very well at not paying attention to anyone else, and nobody's really bothering you. Go ahead and give me some more library use rolls.
Okay.
And yeah, what'd you get?
I'm going to spend 5 luck to get a success.
Sounds good.
I'm spending 3 to get a success.
Sounds good. All right. So I'm going to say that you were investigating more along the line of France because you've gotten a lot of information about the history of the scrolls, or you've found probably all that you could. You've exhausted what is available on Sedef Cache. But now you're looking for mentions of like a simulacrum or a statue, an odd statue mentioned in any writings about the revolution and in France. And you actually come across a name that seems to be associated with a strange artifact. Someone by the name of Comte Phenolic.
What is the first word?
Comte. Comte.
Count.
Yeah, but I think it's the French.
It's the French version of count.
What was his last name?
Phenolic. You've seen it. You see it spelled Pfenalik. You also see it without the P at the beginning.
And what do I know about the Phenolic family? As a noble.
As a noble, why don't you give me a? Was that history?
History. It might be
education?
intelligence. Yeah. Education. It could be any of those things, really.
I'll let you pick.
Or even just straight credit rating. Like, I'm
Sure.
moneyed enough to know them.
Whichever you would like, go ahead and roll me something that.
Well, I'll go credit rating then. Yeah, that's a hard success.
The name Phenolic, what you know about nobility in France, from what little you may be aware of it, there were no Phenolics mentioned or in current day. There's no like descendancy. In looking at it, you notice I need to look up the pronunciation of this city because honestly, I'm 12 years old and I always pronounce it wrong in my brain. So just 1 second. I've been meaning to do this for days. Tell me how to say it. So just. Let's see. Tell me how to pronounce it. Poissy. Poissy. Okay, sorry guys. I told you I'm 10.
Now I see why you needed to look that up.
So Poissy is you see Phenolic associated with a manor in Poissy. And that seems to be where Stop it, Shawn. I'm trying to be a grown-up right now. It's not a bad word at all, okay? I just can't read it, and I would have said Poissy. But Poissy and a Comte Phenolic that you have heard, but again, what you know of it, nothing since like the 1870s. There has been no. Actually, I'm sorry, the 1780s. Transposing my numbers.
So they were wiped out during the revolution.
Yeah. What you know of it, his manse or manor was raided at some point during the revolution. That's what you know from your credit rating.
Okay.
If I can get another. You guys both just got regular successes last time, or were they hard successes?
Both are regular.
For your library use. Go ahead and give me another library use roll and see if you can find. You're now looking specifically for his name, or for their name, the family name.
Regular success.
No success.
What was yours?
Nothing.
No success?
Nope.
Okay. For a regular success about Phenolic, you do see that you find some writings about social life in Poissy during the late 1700s, mid to late 1700s, and he was the Comte at that time was known for having just debaucherous parties. Um, Very well liked amongst nobility. Um, but yeah, he was known for having fantastic parties. It was after some time in as I said, like I believe it was 1789 that uh the I believe it was the Queen feared that there was evil terrible things happening there, but the evil kind of terrible things that she was thinking of were more, again, bohemian, just debauchery, reveling kind of things like that. So sex, drugs, rock and roll, that kind of stuff. And she was quite offended and sent police in after him to put a stop to such ways. But that is about, and then you really don't see anything else about him after that, at least from what you can get your hands on here. I'm going to say you both have been kind of looking. So you've been reading and searching through things for a few hours. Go ahead and give me. Is there anything else specifically that you would like to look up?
Is there any other ties for any part of the statue or any other notes about the statue in France?
Not from there. There is mention of during when the Queen sent in and the manor was the Fenelix manor in Poissy was raided. There were mentioned parts of a statue that were taken out by the looters, but there's no description of it. There's really nothing else said. It just says the looters parted a lot of what was in there. It's after he was after the count or the Comte was arrested and the party stopped. Looters came through and pretty much took everything apart. I need to find the notes that Beddoes gave you guys. Where is that?
So
Yeah, there
I
it is.
think-
Oh, and his notes actually mention Comte Fenelix. And he says part of it may still be in France. The owner was a noble Comte Fenelix.
but we don't know where it would have went from there because
It was looters
it was
took it.
taken by the looters.
Right. Yeah, so it was nobody of note.
Can we look up any cults in France or any occult dealings, especially more modern, like post 1850?
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say also that I think I said this like 2 weeks ago, and so I'm going to try to stick to it because I think I said
Okay.
it, that Cleo was going to retake out that book or
Right.
relook at that book.
You were
that
going to look at it
her
again.
mentor, because she was going to make notes.
Sounds good. Yeah, and it was like, if I remember correctly, the book that she left you was kind of a book of stories.
Yeah.
Believed to be fables and fairy tales by many people, but those with a little bit more of a supernatural awareness and
Yeah, they had like
occult
vampires and cults, which is what
cults and stuff like
kind
that.
of
Sure.
reminded me. Yeah.
Go ahead and as you read through that again, give me another library use roll.
Does that book look like it belongs in this library?
I mean, it is old and
Okay.
it is well used,
Ooh, that's
but
great.
you have not seen anything else of this topic in this library, if that makes sense. Like,
It does.
it's got some pretty garish and vulgar artwork in it, depicting rituals and things like that.
So I go back to my apartment, grab my pearls, come back, so I
And then
can
clutch
crash
them
my-
for a while.
Yes, clutch
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah. You should just keep
A
them in
long
your
way to go
pocket.
for that gag.
No, there's never too far to go for that gag. There's no length I will not go to.
For that gag.
I will while Cleo is looking at it and I'm researching other cults, I'll just Cleo, where did you find that book?
My mentor left it for me to look at.
Is
I would also suggest that no one else in our group reads it, and that I can give the information that we need.
Okay, yeah.
She
I'm
does say.
I'm Is your mentor here in town?
No. Not that I know of. I sent a telegram back to the States and she sent me one back. So unless she came very quickly.
Yeah. You
And
don't know.
And you're concerned with others reading it.
There are stories and implications and information in here that are not of this world generally. So it can do a number if you're not kind of already tapped into that.
Well, I've read the books of Grimm. Like, they were unsettling at times, but they weren't that bad.
It's quite a bit weirder than grim.
It's far more grim than grim.
It's far more grim than grim. I rolled a hard success, by the way, on that library use. It's quite a bit stranger in nature than that. Those stories are odd, but there tends to be, even with how far-fetched those fairy tales are, there is some sort of a sense of grounding things to like this realm and this earth. And there are things in here that even if you read them, they might not make sense.
So you're suggesting that the books of the stories from the Grimm brothers are about things that bump in the night, and these are about things that are incomprehensible?
To some degree, that there is.
I have to tell you,
there is
Cleo,
a kind of a level of comprehension, but it's not the same. Grimm's fairy tales tend to represent things that exist.
You're only making me want to read it more. You know
I
that,
know.
right?
She kind of like moves it
Like away.
a little bit. She's like, I know it's a little bit do as I say, not as I do, and I know how frustrating that is. My mentor railed on me for years for wanting to read things that she didn't want me to read.
Did you find things in there that might be helpful?
Did I?
Okay. I wasn't going to interrupt the roleplay. You find some very interesting things, and I am going to have to make you do another Cthulhu Mythos probably. Sure. Roll on that. And see how that goes, because you are going to find some things.
Gonna find some things. Not that my Cthulhu is terribly high. But that's an 11, so that's a success.
Okay.
Yay!
Fantastic. Okay, so you are okay. I don't remember how, like, the more you look at it, I am gonna say that your Cthulhu Mythos goes up. I'm gonna say 5.
In addition to the 6 that I got last week.
Yeah, and then that means your max sanity goes down another 5. Yep. You're 78. Just going nuts.
78.
Woo! So you find some really strange things. You do not find anything about the Brothers of the Skin, or anything kind of in that region, but you do find some stories that are a little difficult to comprehend about a group of people known as the Voors. Voors. What?
Just, it's a Seinfeld thing. It was it's actually the Moors, but they mispronounced it, misprinted it.
No,
my brain went to Voorhees.
The Moops.
My brain went to Vorgons. So do they write horrible poetry too?
No, and they didn't have massive noses, and that is the people from Hitchhiker's Guide, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, wait a second,
I
it's
went
true.
full horror. I went to Jason Voorhees.
I want to go get a towel. Yeah, it talks about a group known as the Vors, which were a ancient, literally like predating what we know as humans race that was eventually that used to live on the surface of the earth, but in an area that some believe is now Constantinople, Istanbul, that region, that Fertile Crescent. They roamed Anatolia quite freely, and then were driven to the mountains, and continued living underground for a number of years during something called the Hyperborean Age, and uh, it's a lot of nonsense. It's like none of this matches up with any known world history. This is the first time you've ever seen these words. None of this makes any sense.
Sorry, I know I'm not there, but I'm taking notes for the group. What was that age that they were chased? The hype.
Hyperborean.
Hyperborean.
Okay, thank you.
Hyperborean. Hyperborean.
Yeah, I was wanting to
That's
make
how
sure
I
I got it
spell.
spelled right because I was going to the Age of Conan, which was the not the right
Hyborian?
word. Yeah.
Well, that's one of those things that it throws me off too, because Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft were known to be kind of friendly.
Hyboria and Conan are actually tied to Hyperborea. It's weird.
Yeah, Hyperborea is not necessarily a Lovecraft thing. It is associated with like Cthulhu mythos kind of things. It has been brought in line because there's a number of authors that kind of continued that trend of the cosmic horror, like Robert E. Chambers, I think. I believe there's somebody named Robert Bloch that also did it. Robert E. Chambers wrote like The Yellow Sign and The King in Yellow, and that shit is creepy. And I think it's scarier than Lovecraft. But they the Arkham Files board games from Fantasy Flight kind of takes all of that Cthulhu mythos type stuff and puts it all kind of together. But yeah, Robert E. Howard. My understanding, I don't know f all about Conan, to be quite honest, except for having to watch Conan the Barbarian and hating it when I was a kid.
And you do know the 3 greatest things about life, right?
I allegedly I do not.
That's unfortunate.
Is that a Conan thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was like, this is so boring, and there's so much sand, and I hate sand. So it was a thing. There's this dirty, sweaty people. Ugh. But sorry,
I'm
you're
only
learning
laughing
things about me.
because now I just want to call you Anakin. It gets everywhere. I hate sand.
Hey, it's boring.
I wasn't nearly as whiny.
No, you were nowhere. You were yards away from being anywhere near that whitey.
It just makes me thirsty. It's a thing. I don't know. It's weird. But anyhow, they're all associated. So yeah, Hyborian and Hyperborean and all that stuff is kind of linked just because their originating authors were all kind of buds and respected each other to some degree. But anyway, so you learn about the Vors, you get all this bizarre stuff. The more you read, go ahead and give me one more library use roll.
And this is just her, right?
I mean, you can't if she's not letting you look at the book. You can't. If there's something else you would like to look up, if you want to look up cults in like
I'll
more
do that.
recent, go ahead and give me another library use roll because you failed your last one. So
Yeah,
That's a hard success.
I also
Fantastic.
got a hard success.
okay, what you learn in the book from Ophelia is it goes on talking about the Vors and how they would practice. Sorry, I'm trying to like hit a button, but because of my push to talk button, it won't push my other buttons. Just 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the Vor were driven below ground by the rise of the Hyperborean civilization. You do know that they you pick up that they did do human sacrifice, or it's not called human sacrifice, but they did sacrifice others of their kind. Because again, this was, as far as you can tell, uh, kind of pre-human. But they existed for a very, very, very long time. They maintained a worship of a flayed god. The flaying was a core part of their religion. Um, and as it goes on with that hard success, you kind of read through their history, kind of tapers off for a while. An artifact that was believed to have been Vorish was found during Constantine's reign. It was an ancient item. It really doesn't describe what it is, but they believe that it was used in the sacrificial practices. And it popped up in the hands of a this is my favorite phrase. It's in all of these books. A goth slave, a goth lunatic, an escaped slave named Unwin. And apparently Unwin is believed, it leaves off with the Vorish thing because this has nothing really to do with them, but Unwin was believed to have caused a plague in Lydia during that time. And then, Matthew, with your hard success, you find very little associated with the Brothers of the Skin, which is, I think, what you're kind of looking for.
I'm more looking for maybe
cults
a
in
cult
France
that would have popped up in Paris. Like, I want to give us a starting point in Paris, and I don't feel like we have one. And
okay,
cults seem like the next step, maybe.
Okay. The books that you're finding don't speak of much as far as the kind of cults that you're looking for. You do find some mentions and French variations of the names for the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight, but you really don't see anything in the vein that you're looking for. It's there's, and especially like not I guess you weren't looking for it to be tied to anything, but trying to think what you might have found. And there really just isn't anything, or if there is, there's nothing here in this library about it.
Sure.
I am going to say, go ahead and as you both are looking through things, there is, give me a spot hidden.
Woo! I got a success.
Ooh, me too.
Fantastic. With that success, I'm going to say, you do notice that there is another gentleman that, or what you believe to be a gentleman, a person that has also been studying in the library, but you really haven't noticed them getting up or moving around. They seem pretty focused on their studies. He's kind of slumped over some books. His hat is still on his head, which is quite rude. And you can see like the other, huh?
I said so is Cleo's.
Yeah. But it's not a busy room. He's not been snoring, so you don't think he's asleep. He's just very much into what he does. Now, with that spot hidden roll, though, you see that he's still sitting there. And as you're looking through these books and you're taking notes about the Vors and about this goth slave, and Johanna, you're looking at things about cults in France, you hear like a... and you look up, and the man has just fallen flat out of his chair.
Did he? I mean, Cleo will.
I just like
a loud
this
noise. Look up and look over, and it's like, is he moving, or is it like he died and fell?
He is not moving that you can see.
I will approach cautiously.
Okay. I just like that this man falls out of his chair, and you both are just like, we're way too American. We're like, oh, did you fall over? I don't know. I'm not part of that.
Are you okay?
Yeah. So you approach cautiously. He's still in his hat. His hat kind of fell over his face.
Is it a fez?
It's not a fez. It is a nice trilby. But it's kind of crumpled, and it's just kind of sat there on his head. Do you pick up the hat?
I will kind of lean down and gently touch his shoulder to see if I can check
Rouse
on
him?
him.
He is not moving. There's no response to your touch. When you do touch him, it feels a little funny.
Yeah.
Like maybe the shirt is kind of like, I mean, he's wearing an overcoat. It was raining, right? It was raining, and he had his hat on, and it feels like it doesn't feel quite right underneath. Like, it almost feels like his shirt is kind of like sticking to him underneath the coat.
Okay. Can I see his face?
If you take off the hat, you can, yeah.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, that makes sense. I would take off the hat.
Okay. Beneath the hat, you see his face. It is in a kind of a rictus grin. It is clearly in a form of like rigor. Just below his face, you can see his neck is completely red. And with a little bit more searching, you realize that beneath his hat, beneath his coat, beneath his socks and shoes and shirt and pants, he is a skinless corpse laying there in the library. And I need you both to give me sanity rolls.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I succeeded.
I feel like
Fantastic.
Cleo goes to alert someone and then sees that and is like, maybe we don't need more people to go insane.
Yeah, so Matt loses 1.
That's it?
Um,
Okay.
Okay, that's a 3, so that's a success.
So you only lose 1. Yeah, you can't identify this individual. It doesn't look like anybody. You know what you can see. But attached to the corpse, pinned to his shirt, is a note written in modern Turkish. Do either of you speak or read modern Turkish? I think we have a linguist in this duo.
I have Arabic, but in researching Turkish, it is not the same. But if you want to let me apply it, that's great.
I'm gonna let you apply it. And don't you have a special skill?
I have linguist that lets me identify languages and
Okay.
gives me a bonus dice on languages.
I'm going to let you, since you've been looking at books in presumably Turkish for some of this research, and since you do have an eye for languages, I'm going to say, and languages from the same part of the world, that you can maybe parse some of this out.
Okay. I mean, I even succeeded on it, so.
Okay. It says what you can parse, and you're not quite sure if maybe part of you wishes to think that maybe this isn't what it says, but you believe that it says the skinless one will not be denied.
And so it's like stapled to his shirt. Like this is a kid in like the
It's like pinned to
70s
his
that was sent to school with a note for the
Yeah.
teacher. Cool.
And go ahead and I want you to roll something to see if you do you touch the note to inspect it?
Oh, I don't know. Does Cleo stop me from touching the note?
He would
mean,
if
it
you
just-
reached for it.
Yeah,
I mean, it just looks like a note.
We've already established that the Countess touches things that she shouldn't. So
Well, when you touch it, you're like, wow, this doesn't feel like paper. In fact, this kind of
Oh.
feels like human skin. And it definitely is.
so sanity
some-
check then.
Yeah, go ahead and give me another sanity check.
Well, what a succeeded on that just a second ago,
Oh,
but I did
you
not.
so go ahead and give me 1d6.
Okay, so it's good the cultists don't waste things.
I like
That's
like-
2 more. I just lost things.
Okay, seeing the seeing
Cleo's
the
like,
corpse
this is why
was
we
like
don't touch things.
seeing the corpse, you were like, oh geez, and this is terrible, and oh my god. But then like touching something and realizing that it is skin that has been cut off someone,
And then treated and like yeah.
and then written upon, yeah, it that is what pushes you a little farther over the edge. The staff, the steward of the library that had been working that day, he had started to make his way kind of over, and saw that the man had fallen, and you heard him say, I'm going to call the there's like a nurse or a doctor on premises. I'm going to get them to check on him. And they come at that point and they're like, oh, and they kind of lose their they sing opera and they call the police. This is a scandal. The library is now closed, or the reading room is closed.
Can I ask 2 things before we
Sure.
jump too far? Do we see anybody else like, oh, my trap has gone awry or has gone the way I planned, and then run off? I
No.
assume that's a no. What
No.
books are in front of them?
It's just like
Nothing
a
important.
dictionary.
Okay. Just
Nothing.
reading the dictionary?
Yeah.
We should have known the whole time.
Yeah,
We should have seen it.
it was nothing
In-
important.
The note, and I actually don't know if Cleo's gonna know this because she doesn't read Turkish. The term "the skinless one," is it capitalized?
It is indeed.
Okay.
So
It
I would have kind of, while I was reading it before I realized it was skin, if you were there, I would have like read it out to you in English, even in
Yep.
improper English syntax, depending on how it translates.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
you know
yeah,
what? I probably
It is a proper.
yeah.
It is a proper name. In name, it's a proper noun.
It does indeed look like a proper name.
Which means we're also being watched.
But yeah, you saw no one else. That man was there when you got there. The steward doesn't even really mention him. Doesn't seem to really notice him. I mean, this is polite British society. We do not interrupt people, even if they're sleeping in the reading
But
room.
we
at
had
the
to get
British Museum.
checked.
Even if they have no
for-
skin.
We had to get checked for membership to get in here, right?
You did. But I mean, this guy that was working, he's like, I don't know, he was here when I got here.
You said there was like a hissing sound beforehand, or was
Uh,
it like
it
a
was-
sliding?
It was like him sliding off
Okay.
the. Yeah, sorry, that was I was
No,
a.
that's okay.
Wait,
It's good
so
Foley work.
he-
We just wanted to make sure.
I want to be clear about this. He has no skin.
Yeah, below the face. I went ahead and left his skin on his face, but yeah,
Okay.
he has no skin.
Because I was like, how is
No.
he grinning?
Well, you just get that toothy skeletal grin. No,
Yeah.
but yeah, he has been his skin has been removed.
Is any of it like bloody, or is it just like kind of weirdly bloodless?
It is kind of bloody, but you don't think like his shirt was kind of sticking to the exposed musculature and things underneath.
But he's not
but-
sitting in a puddle.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Whatever was done to him was clearly done elsewhere, and he was left.
Real quick
Or someone.
check. Not that I understand how medical science works, and if I would even know.
Sure.
Does it look like there are cut marks into the muscle? Like, was this done well, or was this done quickly? And
This was
shoddily?
done. Well, as much as you go ahead, just for grins, give me a medicine roll.
Hit.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Okay. The part that you are able to really get your eyes on that kind of give you an indication that maybe this was done by someone who has done this before or has some deftness at performing such a deed. The line where the skin is cut under his face is very, very, very clean. It's a very sharp edge on the skin that doesn't look sloppy. It doesn't look like an amateur's done it. Whoever has done this has been able to essentially flayed. What you can tell, you presume that the person who's done this is skilled at this. This is not a new.
And does it appear? So we see obviously the slice here, and
Yes.
I guess kind of building upon that. Does it look like there have been any other cuts, or does it look like somebody pulled a full Dark Willow and just like ripped his skin off?
It, from what you can tell, which granted this is not either of your forte.
Yeah, I can make. I mean, not.
Go ahead and make me a
Can I do
medicine
a
check.
first aid?
I'd like to argue that dressing a dead body's got to be hard all by itself, but dressing a dead body that's kind of bleeding a little bit has got to be a terrible,
You
terrible
would think
time.
so, yeah.
Like,
sure,
just
yeah.
no fun at all.
Right.
These guys are dedicated.
First aid is specifically to try to help someone. This guy is
I know.
far beyond first aid.
I don't. My
Just
medicine's a
hope.
1.
Just
I
a
give you
smidge.
psychoanalysis, Cleo.
You
I
do.
don't give
You do.
first
You do.
aid.
You do. No, definitely not.
Okay.
No, it's a 79.
No, I mean, from what you can tell, which, again, he is still wearing clothes, so. And when the police show up, they're just like, "Ugh," and like they have called a coroner because the guy's like, oh, he's dead. So the medical examiner gets there and is like, oh my god. He doesn't say a whole lot around you because you guys are, nobodies to this medical examiner, but it literally to you just looks like his skin is just gone. Like how it was removed, you don't really have a whole lot of details.
Is it possible to have removed the note before they got over there?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to pocket the note and then hysterically, once the police or somebody important is there, just look them dead in the eyes and say, "Is it the Ripper again?" But with a very heavy Austrian accent.
Okay. Oh, dear. No.
I just want to push this story away from anything we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, I mean, this is not the area in which. No, it can't be the Ripper. No, he's been gone for years. No, this completely different. Presumably a man. Don't worry yourself, Miss.
And-
Please, Fräulein. Please.
And then
no.
I will
Is it a
cry.
cat? Is that what you said?
No, she said a copycat.
Oh,
And then I will cry on his shoulder. Like I'm gonna hysteric this all the way through.
okay. Well, he, pats your shoulder. You are a lovely young woman, crying upon this old man's shoulder. So he is inclined to help you. He carries you away. They take the body away. He assures you it's not the Ripper. There's no evidence to presume that it's a copycat. This was not the way that Jack Ripper did things. And I mean, he's like stumbling through things because honestly, he's like, I've never seen this either. Except for, you do overhear, before you do that, you do overhear the medical examiner saying, reminds me of those 3 chaps at the Chelsea Arms, because, but that's as far as it goes. And because of that, you do, as he's dealing with you, you do hear him say, "Oh, I believe it's Constable Wrigley or Inspector Rigby of Scotland Yard." He's like, "Yeah, it looked like." He comes over, he's like, "Oh, there's another one missing skin," and if you're still like crying and freaking out, and you're like, "You said it was only one."
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now there are 4.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a whole thing, but yeah, they take the body away. There's there was no way to identify him there in the room. If you want to do some more kind of investigating, people would probably give you some more. If you follow it to the hospital, you might be able to learn some more
Can
information.
I cry at the inspector and maybe get him to divulge more about the other 3 bodies? Like, kind of
Sure.
push him to reassure me that it has nothing to do with that by giving me more detail than he probably should. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Can I use
Okay.
charm for that? Or persuade?
Give me a charm.
Okay. Because I'm not honestly sure where hysteric crying falls on skills. Yeah, that's a hard success.
Fantastic. I gave you the wrong name. It's Inspector Fleming.
Fleming. Okay.
There's an Inspector Rigby in here somewhere, but I don't remember where.
He's the man that did it.
Yeah. Inspector Fleming is quite taken aback by your performance. He's like, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, this not, it don't. There's nothing to be worried about. Nothing to be worried about. This is a horrible, horrible thing, and I'm so sorry that you've had to, that your pretty little eyes have had to see such a terrible sight. But it will be, we'll make sure that you're taken care of, and we'll find somebody that you can talk to get some of this out of your system. You know, we have plenty of psychologists and what you have, and it's this. There's so many things that are different about this because he had gone through the body and he did find identification. Just a second. The identification he found on the body was
Mehmet Makriet.
this chap not Turkish. He doesn't have that big old mustache. Let's see, where'd he go?
And then I'll cry about it. They shaved off his mustache.
And then it reminds you that the professor's mustache got burnt off, and it just makes you really sad.
Yeah.
And then you start crying for real. No. This lad's name was Richard Wentworth. It's this has, as far as we can tell, this has nothing to do. This man's missing all of his skin, and those chaps weren't missing all of it. I mean, ignore that. That wasn't anything.
Can Cleo recall from the photos that they saw how much skin? Because it was like a cube of skin.
On one of them, you definitely saw like a strip removed for sure.
Good news. I found Meket. Or
Found his beast. I was gonna say I think they're probably the same size.
Yeah, one and he's like that was and actually the medical examiner was like, one was only the torso, and they wasn't the whole thing, and I'll go ahead and he through his rambling as you are crying hysterically and causing quite the scene and kind of giving him a headache. He's like, don't worry, this is completely different. Those Mokrits, whoever they were, they theirs was torso, arms, and legs. That's it. Each three were different. Don't worry about it. It's weird. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think this has anything to do with it.
I will allow him to comfort me for the appropriate amount of time, and then I will let Cleo lead me away.
Okay. And the Inspector Fleming is clearly pleased that you are now departing. He's like, oh, God above, what the hell was that? And the coroner's like, you don't think we said anything we shouldn't have, right? and then the doors close behind you, and you are off on your own.
Take out a handkerchief and like dab away the tears and say, well, that's interesting, isn't it?
That was an impressive ordeal.
Oh, that's how you keep your father from being angry when you do something you're not supposed to.
That's why your siblings hate you.
I mean, there's so many reasons.
That sounds like there's some trauma there that should be unpacked, not by me. Yeah, that's something.
I did grab the note on. I grabbed the note.
Okay, we should probably put that somewhere where people won't be touching it. Somewhere safe, somewhere potentially blessed.
Not your pocket.
We can burn it for all I care. I just didn't need the police.
Do not burn it.
Really? Okay.
Burning things can do all sorts of things that you don't intend.
I will say, regardless of my performance, I could use a stiff drink. Like, look down at your pocket, like where I know. Yeah.
Actually, she probably would have at the time that she was like leading away. She probably would have been like, "Here we go." I handed it to you.
Perhaps we should head back to my home.
I think we should.
And on that, I think is a good time to take a break. When we come back, we will rejoin Kelsey and Emily, who you guys chose to go straight to the police, right? So there's no going back to tell Johanna or okay.
We're gonna show up with like,
We're gonna keep
we
the party
found great
straight for a minute."
things, and they're like, no, we win. We
Well,
found a
that's
flayed
fine.
body.
That's fine.
We found a skin note.
They're just having a little crying session at home, and we're like, "Oh, hey, went well, huh?"
We think a train showed up at a guy's house. Oh wow!
Yeah.
You guys want to hear about a ghost train?
You guys, we saw a flayed guy. Oh, you win.
Yeah.
But yeah, so stick with us. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Do a drop off and pick up, or drop off and fill up is what I call it, and then you will be back here in just a minute. So stay hydrated.
We don't want to pick that up.
No. But yeah, we'll be back in 10. We love you guys. Stick with us. Bye bye. Hello, hello, and welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I was reminded during the break that if you are with us, you are choosing to ignore the superb owl, and I appreciate your continued viewership when such a global event of international import is happening in some place. I don't remember where it
It's
is. Is it in
it's a
LA this year?
It's
cultural
in LA.
event for
It is a
Americans.
cultural event. Um, and, thank you so much. I hope that maybe we can bring you as much entertainment and maybe as many laughs as at least one or two of the ads. So, um,
You know what they probably won't have? Someone that has been flayed.
There's
they
a good
won't.
chance.
So,
And it definitely
you
won't have a
know,
ghost train.
It's true.
it
So
might make football more interesting.
it won't
A
have
random
this gift
avulsion
train.
on field.
That,
Um,
that's horrific.
Ball
You
is
know, that
not
is
made of human
horrific.
skin.
Oh no.
That we know of.
Oh no.
I mean, they tell
Oh,
us it's
no.
pigskin, but who really knows? A Bobby Flay commercial. Okay, I'm turning off chat. 'Cause, I'll be looking at that all night. Thanks, John. All right. No, you're doing exactly what I pay you for, bud. Love you, baby.
Though, with that being said, this year there is a Guy Fieri Super Bowl commercial for Budweiser seltzers.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Look it
Okay.
up on
Well,
YouTube. It's awesome.
Guy Fieri is a great guy. Really, he's honestly a good chap.
Yeah.
His food hurts my heart, but
Well,
he's
I
a nice
mean,
guy.
I'm gonna die probably of a heart attack anyway, so might as well eat something tasty on the way. I'm joking. No, that we're getting too morbid. This isn't a morbid stream. This is
No,
all
no,
mature.
this
That's
isn't a
all
morbid
sunshine
stream
and
at
slave
all.
people. Yeah.
Sunshine and rainbows. Before we get back into it, let me once again remind you of our upcoming schedule. Tomorrow night we have the Voyages of our Star Trek Adventures weekly actual play. Robin Jacoba will be the storyteller for tomorrow night's exciting story. I meant to look up the name of the episode.
The
It'll
name of
be
the
on
episode is Creeping Thoughts.
Creeping Thoughts.
Yeah, I'm not going to get shot this time.
No, of course not.
I'm
Tuesday-
gonna use my Cthulhu's to get you shot.
Oh.
No. Then on Tuesday night we have By Leaps and Bounties, our 7th C second edition playthrough with Alla and I and John and Michael and Danny, and we have a good time there. I put on a magical bracer that's not going to end poorly at all, and hopefully I get my hand back.
You lost a
cursed?
hand? Like you already
Wait.
sank 2 ships and lost it. I'm missing on
We
No,
don't
I
know
didn't.
that
I
yet.
didn't lose the hand yet. I just am worried that the bracer's never going to come off again.
Oh, okay. Now I'm
Desperate
with you.
times call for desperate measures.
It was starting to sing and vibrate again and glow, and I was like, I'm going to put it on and see if I can tell it to stop.
And we already had
So-
to flee the city because of certain people's actions, so, no big deal.
I mean, Alla's face is plastered all over wanted posters all over the Castilian port that
We
we're
can't
in.
prove it,
So,
it was me.
saying. I'm just trying to be a sailor, okay? And then I'm surrounded by scoundrels. But yeah, so that's Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central or Pacific. What is that? The other coast. And then on Saturday we're going to play Overlight on Seriously Let's Play at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So John will be heading up that one, and I think that's all for our shows this week. Growing Shadows, of course, is every other week, so it is not this week. We will return to our ninjas next week. And yeah, we're having a good time over here. I'm really, I say it on Twitter a lot, and I'm sure people get tired of hearing it. And I say it in the Discord a lot. I really am having a great time with our community. Y'all come out for our shows. I love seeing the interact in chat. I love seeing the interaction in the Discord. We're having a really good time. I'm enjoying seeing this community grow, and it's becoming a nice little safe place where we can talk about geeky, nerdy stuff and have a good time and not really worry about people picking on us and just being assholes. I have a distinct don't be an asshole rule in the Discord community and in our chat. So keep being awesome. We really appreciate it. That said, let's return to Stoke Newington, where Mrs. Emily Brandt and Mr. Kelsey Haskins have departed the bed sit where Mr. Henley Stanley went. I keep calling him Henley Stanley. Henry Stanley went missing on 2 nights ago. And let's see where what the police might have to offer to them. So you both approach. It is still rainy. It is still gloomy and dreary on this January 8th. So it's probably a nice cold rain too. You're probably bundled up pretty warmly, but the cab drops you off in front of the local police station, and you enter and make some inquiries about Mr. Stanley's disappearance. And the dutyman happily supplies all public information concerning Stanley's disappearance. So he basically reiterates everything that you know, but he is open for questions if you would like to ask him any.
So I was wondering if we can get a look at the train set.
Oh, really?
I'm
Yeah,
a
trade enthusiast yourself.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm a representative for Brombali and Brandt Insurers, and we are here following up on this case to make sure that Mr. Stanley is truly dead, because there's quite a large payout coming if we can prove that he is gone. And I am sure that if we've already talked to... Shoot, what was her name? The landlady.
Constance Atkins.
How did you? She's your new British girlfriend, Kelsey.
I know.
don't understand why you don't know her name.
We've already spoken to Miss Constance Atkins and has assured her that if we can find no living relatives, that the money would go to her. And I'm sure she could be persuaded to make a large donation to the station
Police officers' ball.
if that's what you have here. I'm sorry, I'm
joking.
surely not around here.
I wasn't aware they had balls. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
The dutyman looks at you through narrowed eyes, Miss Brent. Go ahead, Kelsey, and be sure everyone mark off your lies to law enforcement on your bingo card. Give me whatever's better: fast talk, persuade, or law.
You know what would be-
I was hoping to go for charm because I'm trying to be my utmost charming to him.
Okay, I'll let you have charm. I guess.
What was the other? You said charm?
Charm. Well,
law?
I didn't say charm at all. I said fast talk, persuade, or law. But you,
Sorry,
I will allow you to use charm.
Well, legally, as also as insurance adjusters, we would have access to the evidence.
Oh, give me that roll.
Okay.
You too, Miss Brandt. You're gonna have to give me one too.
I would like to use law because
Please do.
I gotta take a picture of this. I just rolled a 3.
Hey.
Oh!
That's
Okay.
your second 3 of the day, is it not?
No, that was a 7 earlier.
I got a 3.
That's right.
I am
Y'all.
going to... Oh, it's not an... Oh, it is extreme success. My bad, I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, it's extreme success.
I rolled an 11, which
Fantastic.
it's not an extreme success, but it is a hard success.
Well, let me get you, just a second. Stay there. And he bustles off, and I'm trying to see if there's a name in this article of the
While you're
sergeant.
looking, I'm gonna look at Emily as like, apologies for using your name. I just needed to come up with something off the cuff that sounded official.
That is well and done. Let us hope he does not ask for business cards. Oh, I'm switching to the French accent now. Ugh, those two accents they crisscross so easily with the hard
close,
R,
but
the rolling
but
R's.
yeah, you're going super primavera.
Yeah, it's very easy. But no, a German accent. We will go with hopefully they will forget our names and not ask for a
Hopefully
card.
they will not ask for. See, I can't do either. Okay, so a moment later, a tall man in a suit approaches, and he looks clearly of a higher rank. He wears his badge, and he says, "My name is Sergeant."
Sergeant.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
What's a good
find
What's a
the
good
name.
British name? Jones.
Smith.
Smith.
Smith. I'm Sergeant Cooper, and family of barrel makers. Don't you know? No, but Sergeant Cooper. I'm handling the Stanley disappearance.
Is it
My
afternoon? Oh, sorry.
sorry.
I was gonna say, is it afternoon yet, or is it still morning-ish?
It's yeah. You were at Constance's for like an hour and a half.
Okay.
It was already late morning. I'm going to say that it's. I'm going to say that y'all stopped for lunch and then you went on to the place.
Okay.
So yes,
And Merriweather, is that what we're going with? No. Cooper.
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 Cooper. Who said Merriweather?
I think
No
someone
one.
mentioned Merriweather. I don't know.
Probably in the chat.
I did, and because
Oh, you said Merriweather? Okay.
quintessential British name to me, but
Um,
Oh, okay, well, you're not wrong.
what is he? Is
Cooper.
he a sergeant?
He's a sergeant at the
Okay.
Stoke Newington Police,
Okay.
and he is the sergeant and the lead investigator in charge for Mr. Stanley's disappearance. My good man here tells me that you would like to see the train.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah. Sorry, I keep walking over. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
That's okay. I hate to disappoint you, but we do not any longer have the train in our possession.
Oh, we were directed here. What happened to the
Well,
train?
we did take the train. We
Okay.
absolutely did take the train. It as far as we're concerned, it could be a weapon of some. It could have been a weapon. It could have harmed him in some way, but
Well, that's what we're trying to ascertain.
honestly, you say you're from the insurance.
Yeah. Actually, my name is Vincenio Brambali. This is Amelia Constantine.
You do not strike me as Italian, but I've
Well,
been
my
surprised by strange
my
things.
father is, and he's who we're representing. He's the owner of one of the presidents of Bombarley and Brandt Insurance.
Must be an American firm. It's odd that Mr. Stanley would have insurance through an American firm, but
we're expanding globally.
I mean, I can talk with you. Let's come back to my office. I don't like to talk about these kind of things just out in the lobby. So please follow me. And he leads you through the station. His office isn't far. He sets you down in a couple chairs, and he talks as candidly as he's wont to. Just for my own, just prepping for the rest of the scene. Give me a credit rating roll, either of you, both of you.
Both of us.
Do
Some
you
of
want me to
you.
handle that one?
Yeah, because I mean, mine is. I got a regular success.
As did I.
Okay, all right. We'll get to that. Let's see. So Cooper sits down. And he's like, "Okay, I'll be frank with you. From what we found in the room and looking at the train set, I think it was all an elaborate hoax. And I'm pretty sure that Mr. Stanley, if he is wanting us to believe him to be dead, I believe he's faked it."
I mean, that goes great for our company because I mean that's definitely not a payout, but we
course.
definitely need to
Sure.
prove that.
Well, honestly, there was absolutely no evidence of a burnt human, bone, any sort of bodily tissue, no blood. There wasn't even a sign of violence. Yeah, there was all the smoke and soot and marks and things like that, but I don't know what he was playing at. I don't know what he had going on in that room. I don't know what he got the toy train to do. But as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Stanley scarpered out the window, and no doubt we shall learn of his motive eventually. But right now, we have no evidence that he was actually harmed, and these sorts of things have their ways of working themselves out.
Yes, we wanted to confirm that the train was in fact used as the elaborate hoax, as you say.
So we inspected the toy for possible electrical faults, since it was really the only thing that could have caused anything like the smoke that Miss Atkins was speaking of. None existed. The voltage of the toy itself was insufficient to even cause electrocution. It's literally just had a battery, and it was a small one. The reason it's no longer rare is because, unfortunately, none of us are electricians, as you can be sure. And most of us have no interest in toy train sets meant for children being played with by grown men. So we sent it over to the London Train Spotters Association to have them look at it just to be absolutely sure that, with an expert examination, that everything was on the up. I can give you, we left it in the care of a Mr. Arthur Butter, who's the president thereof. And I can get you his address if you'd like.
Please.
We do want to be thorough, of course.
Of course. One thing I do want to make sure that you understand, though I can't imagine why you would care, it is part of his estate, Mr. Stanley's, and therefore, should the train at some point become not evidence in this case, it will go to his kin, whoever
Of
they
course.
may be.
As will the money that he is due if he is truly dead.
Mm-hmm. And the sergeant doesn't look like he believes a word that you're saying, but he's the more you talk, he's like, okay. Right. Well,
We just want to make sure that there's no foul play going on.
of course, of course. Well, if you find any evidence thereof, please do let me know, because
Certainly.
this
You'll
whole
be the first we let to know.
this whole malarkey has been quite a waste of department resources as we look for a grown man who played with a train and disappeared. It just sounds stupid. Plus, I've had people asking me about this because I have no idea how anybody even found out, but apparently he bought the train from that chap that, we was found dead down closer to downtown London.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, you
there's
mean-
3 of them, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I read some of the stuff on that case, and what a nightmare. I'm so glad. I much prefer living here.
Yeah,
Keeps
but
me
it
out of
sounds
the
like you're
shit.
getting pulled into it anyway.
Well, thankfully I can just go talk to somebody who gives a damn. But it ain't me. But yeah, we don't have the train. If you want to look at it, I don't know if you're familiar with the London Train Spotters, but I can assure you, if you want to see a train, they'll show you all sorts.
I'm assuming it's going to be full of people like Mr. Stanley. Grown men
Do you
playing
know
with
something
trains.
about Mr. Stanley then? Besides, anything of his personality?
Oh, we've already been at the boarding house that he was staying at, and we saw the
Oh,
train obsession that he
that
obviously
woman.
had. Oh, she could tuck your ear off, couldn't she?
I had to keep her off my deputies.
Is that
Poor
what we're calling
Constance.
them? No. She's just lonely.
But yeah, I
We
wish I had more
appreciate
to
the
give you, but
information.
yeah, I wish I had more to give you, but I really don't. Like I said, I think he just run off.
Well, we do honestly appreciate your time, and I guess we'll be off and make our way to the train club.
So.
If it's not too far of a journey to make today.
Agree.
Oh, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. You might. I'm not entirely sure. I gave you guys a map. Let me see. Where, in relation to anything else, it might be.
To the taxi!
Yeah.
And maybe we can get this
Do
done
you guys
before
want to
dinner.
perhaps? Do you want to perhaps go and find your friends and go with more people, or do you just want to wing it alone?
Is it probably still reading in the library? It's a very
Very.
safe place.
I mean,
Totally.
at
You
least
need a membership to get in. I don't know what the...
and we're outside enjoying the fine London weather. They're all warm and safe.
It's like this 8 months out of the year.
Ugh.
It's absolutely
One
miserable.
second.
I don't know why the Countess likes to be here.
I can only imagine that the cold just seeps into your bones, just achy.
It is not pleasant, yeah. Especially when you get to be my age.
We apologize to all of our London viewers.
Sorry, London is actually beautiful.
It is.
I
2 months out
love
of the year.
London, but I also like Northern England as well. Let's see.
I love the rain, so I love it.
Right? Right? Everybody's always pissing about the rain, but it's really nice.
You love what you
That's
don't
why I
have.
live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
right?
Yep.
God
Yep.
damn it.
I love snow, but I only like seeing it 1-2 days a year.
Well, that's why you live in Alabama.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't see where it is. So, the Train Spotters Association is in a town called Camberwell. Let me do a quick little googly.
What about Arthur
Camberwell's on the very
Butters?
south side of the map that you gave us, right down by the reference,
Is it down there by Kensington?
south of Kensington.
Yes. South of Kensington. So you would have to pass by Johanna's to get there. So you guys sure you don't want to pop in and just...
Well, no, because they're still at the reading room. We don't know that they're out of the reading room yet. So
It's true. They were
You
going to be there
don't?
all freaking day. We were just going to meet afterwards at dinner.
I mean,
I'm going to say that as you're going through, you happen upon Cleo and Johanna
Just
out
really
for a
want us
stroll.
to go.
It sounds like we need to all be together for this because
Well,
we're going to get
okay.
shanked.
Let me ask. No, let me ask this: where Cleo and Johanna, what would you like to be doing? Because I want to just keep you guys involved. That's all. I don't want you to just sit here and watch the other two.
that's true.
Well,
Role
I
play
would
all
also
night.
assume that we would have asked them to check back in at least with the house. So
Sure,
if
at
we
least with
found-
the staff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let the
just to
staff
call them
know.
and say, "Hey, we're going here. Hey, we're going." That way, when they disappear, we know where they were last.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
we'll call in after we're done with the sergeant and let the staff know that we're going to the train club, and maybe you'll answer the phone.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Well,
sorry.
not
what?
you, but
No,
I mean,
no. We're
Oh,
like,
you know
yes,
what?
will you pass a
phone?
message along to the
You know
countess?
what? You know what? I have an idea.
uh-oh.
Chill out. You're there in the police station in Stoke Newington, and as you're getting ready to
Alright.
leave, there's quite a bustle. And someone says, "Oh, you won't believe what I just had happened!" And they found a body at the reading room at the British Museum.
I'll try to look with Emily.
What? There's
Of
not a lot of details. The police
whose
down there being no
body?
shush, but
Was it a
It
Who are
female
you?
wasn't
body?
like two young ladies. What of a young lady was it?
well, hell if I know. I just heard that they found it.
Let's go
Police
find a
really aren't
phone.
saying a whole lot. And the guy, the Inspector Cooper's like, "Told you, down in London, you pulled into the shit."
Let's get back to the
We should
house.
go to the reading room.
Not my department. He goes on his way.
Do you want to find a payphone and call the house first to see if they may be back
Did they
already?
have payphones back then? Oh, can we use the phone
Oh,
at the
yeah.
police station?
The duty man that you talked to earlier, he's like, "You need to use a phone." Oh, all right. And he picks one up from behind the counter and he sets it up top.
Just a moment, and we'll dial the townhome and double check that the countess is there or not.
Rinaldi Storage Residence. This is Egbert speaking.
Egbert.
Egbert.
Cadbury. That's what I wanted. Cadbury speaking.
Cadbury.
Cadbury Egbert.
Is the countess at
Egbert
home?
Cadbury. Oh.
She
May I
returned
ask
from her.
who's
It is,
calling?
you know who this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
I
didn't.
pay you
I
wages.
didn't- I pay you. Yes, Miss Brandt.
I pay you.
The Countess and Miss Dandridge arrived maybe about 45 minutes ago.
Excellent. Will you prepare a spot of tea? We are coming home as well.
Of course, Miss Brandt. Will that be all? And he hangs up.
Fucking Cadbury. If he wasn't so efficient, I would find another butler. But I like him. He's prompt. No extra words necessary.
Nope. So,
Straight to the
yes,
point,
you
even.
make. He knows what you don't need before you ask for it.
He is reliable.
So yeah, you return to the house, and the four of you have reconvened as one group.
My first question is: did you guys kill somebody in the reading room?
Yes, you must tell us what happened.
I would say that by this time, Cleo has watched Johanna drink more than normal. Not to an excessive degree, but is obviously refilling her glass more often than not.
Have you been crying, Fraulein? Fake
Uh,
crying?
Well, you should sit down.
Oh my god, you guys did kill somebody in the reading room, didn't you?
We no.
What did I tell you about leaving evidence?
I killed. Well,
Sorry,
didn't-
what?
kill anyone.
Do you just like fling a piece of flesh like off and like read this?
Oh god, no.
Whip it
Like
out of your
those- it's like
pocket,
those-
like
It's those TikToks of people throwing cheese on cats. Just
And then Kelsey's like, oh, okay, hold on. I've got to
Sorry.
go find
Careful.
Johanna now. I felt that we were ending the research portion of our day. Although, Cleo, we never really finished our conversation. When a gentleman who had been there the whole day kind of fell out of his chair, when we went to check on him, his body was missing at the epidermis.
He had no skin from the neck down.
That is a way you could put that.
grizzly.
And
Was
had
he-
a note.
Old
pinned
timey
to the
torture method.
chest. And then I will but I wouldn't suggest touching it. And then I will it's probably wrapped in a handkerchief, pull it out and unwrap the skin without touching the skin. Very clearly it has been laid so that it can be read, but I'm not touching it.
Wait, what is that?
Don't it's a note in Turkish written on some sort of
That looks like skin, yes.
conditioned skin, perhaps one of the mini Mehmets.
Kelsey kind of goes green.
It's not entirely uncommon. We used to do that all the time before the invention of parchment. We're rarely human, but
You
Take
personally
a
used to do it all the time?
much longer
No.
drink.
this is not a royal we. But rather we, the human race.
Okay, so
Anyway,
do we know what the note says? I don't read Turkish.
Can you repeat what the note says? Because I did not actually write that down.
I
wrote
did.
it
I was
down.
just doing it to be
Okay.
in character.
Yeah.
something
The
about the skin.
skinless one
Yeah.
will not be denied.
I felt it best that that Scotland Yard not have this to point in a direction we are headed anyway, so that when we showed up later, they wouldn't assume we were suspects.
Do you believe that this was targeted for the two of you specifically?
Perhaps for the four of us instead, but you two went somewhere else today instead of coming with us.
I mean, it could have been meant for the clerk. You really don't know.
But given what we've been researching and what happened to Professor Smith,
Could have
I-
been the clerk.
I hope not.
I touched him. I hope not.
And there was no record of who this man was. I thought they required some sort
Yes,
of.
his name is Richard Winthrop, according to the ID that the police found. I may have perhaps suggested that this was the work of Jack the Ripper, and then hysterically cried my way out so that we could leave.
That is excellent thinking.
And while doing so, there was more information revealed to me about the three Mehmets, and the skin missing from them as well. So this is a continued pattern. Just this one happens to be much larger.
So, okay, pardon my ignorance because, cults are kind of a new concept for me. So is the skinless one who the Brother of the Skins worship? Because I thought that's who we were dealing with, was the Brotherhood of the Skin.
I have no indication either way, but I can't imagine people just lose their skin and not be connected to a cult about skin.
So the skinless one would be who they worship? I asked that looking at Cleo.
It could be I found some information potentially on a very old group of people that were around a very, 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 very long time ago that seemed to worship a god. Uh, like a flayer god. And so part of their rituals and human sacrifices had to do with flaying people. So my assumption is it could be connected, but I would have to do further research to figure out what god it was.
At that point, after Cleo explains it, I'm going to take the bottle of whatever the Countess is drinking, pull a very large shot of it, and just down it in one gulp.
4 fingers.
Because, for as far as Kelsey is concerned, I mean, he knows about Adam and Eve and doesn't know a jack about anything that could predate that.
Well, I wish I could say our research was more enlightening, but unless you believe in ghost trains, we found nothing of value.
I mean, why not? Why not? What do you mean ghost trains?
Well, when we went to the Mr. Stanley's house, his landlady basically told us he went upstairs with his train, turned it on, she heard a rumble, and then he was gone. And when she went up to the room, it was full of smoke. And the kicker, which is what Emily and I have been discussing about all day, is there are train tracks, like the train wheels had gone through his apartment, and they are the size of a train, a real train, not a toy train, a big train.
Did we look at ley lines? I mentioned it. Did we?
No, because the professor's house burned down. That's where we're going to get it from.
Okay.
Cleo, if Rue allows it, might be able to do a roll to figure out ley lines in London.
Sure.
They are there.
Give me an occult roll and whip out the dowsing rods.
And whip out the what?
Oh, I was to say, yeah, hopefully dowsing rods.
All right. Let's see.
And Emily and I also noticed there was if we're going to go with the ghost train, it had a giant smokestack that left a soot trail across the ceiling, the same parallel to the tracks that it went down.
And the room suggests that there was some sort of steam engine in the work. There was definitely heat damage to the wallpaper.
You mentioned the tracks on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They did mention it already,
yeah. That's an 8. So that's an extreme success because my dice are on my side today.
Yeah, you, I'm going to say, Cleo, that you remember seeing a book in the Countess's library, and you skitter off and get it, and you come back, and you actually find a ley line map for Europe and Great Britain from... It's an old book from some centuries before, like from the Dark Ages. It's some reproduction of some old maps, and you remember flipping through and noticing something that looks suspiciously like ley lines, but it's in like old Saxon. So you weren't quite sure, but looking at it again, you're like, maybe this is what...
So looking at the ley lines, does it match the direction the train was? Like, was the train moving in the direction of ley lines? Does it correspond?
Sure.
I love when I ask questions that don't matter, and you're like, I gotta make something up.
I was trying to think. I was like, which direction did I say it was going? Northwest,
northwest
to
to southeast.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
So I mean,
let me see a thing here. Let me see a thing. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So if you want to, I don't know what to make of it. So basically, he turned his brand new toy on, and it summoned a ghost train into his apartment. So it either incinerated him or he hitched a ride into the unknown.
Well, I don't think it incinerated him.
No,
there was no evidence of a human.
You do see
combustion.
there is a ley line. Give me an idea roll, Johanna.
Extreme success.
Okay. You notice that there's a number of ley lines through the United Kingdom, according to this map and what area it shows. But one thing that you notice when they tell you about the scorch marks on the floor and and the soot on the ceiling and things like that, and looking in with the ley lines, you see that I'm going to say that you run off and you grab a map of London, which you also have in your possession as an academic. You figure out a way to kind of compare the maps, and you are sketching some of these ley lines on the modern map, and you see that there is a train line that runs directly out of London, northwest, heading towards Liverpool. And with that, what did you get on that idea roll? What kind of success was it?
It was extreme.
Extreme success. You remember distinctly that Randolph Alexis was killed in a train derailment headed out of London up to Liverpool.
Well, that is for not believing in ghost trains. I believe this is the third death that this train has been the focus of.
But we do not necessarily know he's dead. He is missing.
Well, but Mr. Randolph Alexis, the gentleman that we talked about, the occultist, was derailed off of this train, and I'll kind of sketch out was derailed off this line, which goes in the same direction in the same area of where that house was. And then his son disappeared, whether he's dead or not, I'm sure. But the train is responsible for the lack of 3 people. At least.
So,
I don't know how that plays into this larger skin situation.
well, I mean, other than it came from Mamet's shop, I mean, we don't. I mean, that was just it was a lead. But Cleo, could a device like that be used as a ritual? The landlady described the track as being kind of a little pattern. Could that pattern mean anything if we actually see it? Could you know? Would you know, Countess? I mean,
It seems like it was a standard, infinity symbol sort of train toy.
but we haven't seen it yet because when we went to the police station, they sent it off to the train enthusiast people to have it examined.
The Train Spotter Society, yes.
That's the
We
one,
will be
yeah.
hoping to visit them either later today or in the morrow,
We should go today.
in case any
You
more
can
people are
indeed do
lost.
that.
In case
Yeah, because-
any
yeah.
more people lose their skin.
Yeah, I think the time is getting closer and closer for us to get on a train of our own. And so I think we shouldn't be wasting any minutes.
Okay, so how good are you guys at fabricating a story? Because we've been telling everybody that we're insurance adjusters investigating this because there's a large payout coming. And you guys could be our experts in the train.
I just imagine you all 4 look at each other and like, we don't look like we enjoy trains.
Trains go choo-choo, and that is... You now know the extent of my knowledge of trains.
Right,
do
and
I.
how good
I
are
have
you
some.
at
I
acting?
have some expertise with the mechanical workings of trains, yes, but I don't know if anything will help at a miniature scale.
Well, I think the matter is that we're going to a train enthusiast building, so
You're going to
They're
be
gonna know
surrounded
if
by
we're
people
lying.
that can work on trains and stuff.
but we'll be
so-
surrounded by people who know.
But I mean-
Well, we are
But
not
let's-
really experts on trains. We're experts on electricity and electricity-related accidents.
Kelsey,
But
give me an
Feel free to
idea
lie.
roll.
Give you an idea roll.
But let's be honest, we're going to a place where a bunch of men play with children's toys. I'm sure I can talk my way in.
Everyone needs a hobby.
I'm going to spend 9 points of luck to get a regular success.
It occurs to you that you're going to a Train Spotters Association, and those guys probably don't give 2 craps why you're asking questions about trains. They're like, hey, somebody wants to talk trains.
It's great.
Tell us
Can I-
more about trains.
Can I tell you about my D&D character?
Can I tell
Exactly.
you about my Call of Cthulhu character? Because
I mean, if you guys, I'll be honest with you, if you want to go in there with the story prepared, absolutely go for it. But I'm going to tell you right now that they really don't care. They're like, oh, you
Okay.
want to talk about the train? They don't even care that Stanley's disappeared. They know him and they're like, oh, it sucks, but it has nothing to do with the train. He probably just ran away. A grown
I-
man just took
I
off.
think we stick with the insurance adjusters kind of.
Yeah, until it
Just in case.
peters off because they're going to be so excited to show us the train.
Do I have any connections with the Golden Dawn or the Silver Twilight?
I think you asked me that last week, and I think you had known, or last time, or maybe you just asked if you found anything written about them.
I knew that I knew about them. I don't know if I know any members that I could like.
I don't think you know any members.
Would I be able? Oh, you know what? I would like to real quick before we leave call the bookstore
Okay.
and ask him if he can get me in touch with a member of the Golden Dawn. I have some occult questions I'd like to discuss with them, and I'd be very happy to sit down over a nice meal and make sure that if there was some patronage that needed to be brought about because of that, that I could perhaps facilitate that.
Okay. You can leave that message, and we will check back in with that after we investigate this train.
Yeah.
All right. So the four of you, are you okay? The
Yeah,
four
cracked
of
my
you
elbow.
find a passage to Camberwell, which is just south of Kensington. And the headquarters of the association is actually in the home of Arthur Butter himself. So he is a friendly man, and when you first inquire about Mr. Henry Stanley and say that you're there investigating on his estate's behalf, he's like, oh, Mr. Stanley was he was a very quiet and just a likable chap, longtime member of the association. Do come in.
So, honestly, I mean, our time is really short. We were hoping to see the train that he had to see if it could have been the cause of his disappearance or a possible the fire that was at the apartment. Just wanted to take a quick look at it and just, we're trying to dot our I's and cross our T's and close out this case.
Give me a psychology roll.
Yeah, because I'm known for those.
Anybody? Give me those psych rolls.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I could care less about trains.
I
spent
rolled
one
100.
Oh,
I roll one. I'd spend 1 point to make it a regular success.
Mrs.
Psychology?
Brandt, psychology or psychoanalysis, whichever one you choose to use.
Psychoanalysis is a hard success.
Okay.
Psychology is nothing.
Mrs. Brandt, you find that Arthur Butters reminds you very much of Mr. Brandt, and you're a little bit lost in memory for a moment. So you don't really pick
Back
up
when he was
anything off of
lucid.
him. Yeah, or maybe not. I don't know. Just a second. Ooh, excuse me. But those of you that succeeded on that psych roll, his disposition, not his disposition, but his demeanor sours just a little bit, or his visage. His countenance falls. He says, when you ask about the train, he's like, it's a beautiful set. I ran it once for a very short time to show the police that it worked and that there were no faults in it. But honestly, looking at it, it reminds me so much of Henry that I get no pleasure from running it. So I do have it though. It's with the association. He says, actually, the set is in rather poor taste. The model depicts an actual train, which wrecked in '97 on the Liverpool run, with great loss of life. The fact that someone decided to make a train of it is quite. It's just very obscene to me. I don't believe Stanley knew that though, or he would not have been nearly as excited. The idea of it would have really upset him. He had a keen eye for the authentic though, but not much interest in history. It's a gorgeous model, even for £1. I mean, which is all he paid for it.
that's horrible. I mean, Kelsey's really getting tired of the runaround, and he's like, "That's horrible. But do you mind if we take a look at it real quick?"
Sure.
We've been trying to get a look at this all day, and we've just been going from one place to another, and
I mean, if you
almost
want
dinner
to see
time.
trains, I should always be the first stop on your way if you're trying to look at a train set. But
Well, we
come
were
on, follow
following
me.
we were following the trail, so
No worries, no, of course. And he bids you follow him, and he leads you down to his cellar it's just where he's kept it, and it's actually the train is it's not even laid flat. The track is like leaning against the wall, and the train is affixed to the track. But he gets it out. Give me a credit rating. Give me your credit rating rolls.
From all of us.
Yeah. I just need if one of you succeeds, that'll count.
That'll be an extreme success.
I rolled a 99. What the heck is with my dice today?
Are these
Rolled a 97.
Is these the ladybug dice?
They're not. They're not. I was mixing
Bring
it up
in
for
the
once.
ladybugs.
Yeah,
Bring in the ladybugs.
I didn't fail as spectacularly, but yeah, I didn't make it either.
That's fine. Johanna got it. We're good.
Don't worry, I'm rich.
He says, I mean, I've checked it out. There's nothing that would have caused any kind of sort of. The police seem to think that it was just used as a means for him to run off, which doesn't make any sense to me. And the landlady, from what raving she's offered, it seems like she thinks that he was burnt alive. There's not enough of a charge in this battery or in this train to cause such a thing, but if you'd like, I could let you borrow it for a while. As long as you bring it back eventually. It does belong to the Stanley estate, although I don't know that he had any family that I can think of. He didn't speak of much besides the trains, but might be you'll find something, perhaps. As for me,
Like I said,
I'll be pleased when the police come to look for it again.
We're just trying to dot our I's and cross our T's so we can close this case out. And if we find there is no,
to take it.
No, we'll take it for our investigations, but there won't be any damage to it, and we'll return it to you very shortly.
Is it just the engine, or are there cars with it?
Well, it's okay. So I take it you're not familiar with the Liverpool derailment.
Oh no, that was
97.
Matt asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I don't remember if I detailed this before, but if not, I'll detail it again now. The train is literally just the front portion of the Liverpool train that was derailed. So when the train derailed, I believe one of you looked up information on the train derailment, and maybe even at the reading room, but there was a train. It was derailed. Most of the train, like the back passenger cars and everything, were found, but the engine, the tender, and the first two cars were not found. Never. The official story is that they sunk in the mud, but there are murmurings above because it landed in a river. There are murmurings that that can't happen, and so this is actually just the part that was missing.
So if we look in the window,
Yep.
Can we see tiny little corpses in there?
You don't.
Tiny little people screaming.
Would you like to look at? Would you like to look at the train more closely here, or would you like to take it with you and look at it more closely at home?
I'm gonna look at it here, and I'm gonna touch it because this is
I
how
was
we
going to
find
say,
magic
Cleo,
dumb
when you
crap.
go to touch it, you have done it enough. Cleo will hit your hand. She will go,
let's-
no.
Before we make a scene, let's take it back to
Too
let's
late.
take it back to the office. Yeah, I'm staying in insurance adjuster. Let's take it back to the office so that we can inspect it properly. Miss Danvers, this is if we carry it by the edges, we should be safe and not get electrocuted, correct?
Isn't there some sort of storage device that we can carry it and not?
I thought it was mounted to the tracks, and that's why it's up on its side. And there is no.
Usually, tracks can be disassembled.
Do y'all well, I mean it's mounted and affixed to a hardwood board. But I mean it's it's portable. It's
That's what I'm
not a
saying.
big train
If
set.
we grab it by the edges, if we don't touch the tracks, we don't touch
Yeah,
the
yeah,
train,
yeah. The hardwood. I
we should
mean,
be safe.
Mr. Stanley carried it about.
Well, Mr. Stanley's no longer here either.
No, but I mean, he did come into his house with it, and it was fine.
Oh.
I'm
Are
just
there-
saying. I'm just saying. Other people have touched it. The police have touched it. So
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
there's not been any foul play.
I think
From a quick cursory look at the actual track layout, is there anything odd there?
It is a wonky figure eight. It doesn't. It's not like a clean figure eight. It's a very strange one, and it's actually been like there's ramps and stuff, so it can like go over the track where it crosses. It's not just like, like some train tracks. It's just they can crisscross and it's all flat. This one actually is elevated in the center.
I'll look over at Cleo and then look back at the track and then look at Cleo and then look back at the track. Like,
Yeah, does it remind her of any symbol that she's seen before?
No. If you would like to take a closer inspection of it, I can allow you to do so. But I will say that as you're standing there, Butters is like, well, you all seem very interested in the train. Do you have an interest in trains? Do you travel by trains a lot or anything?
no, unfortunately.
No.
My father actually has quite a few interests in trains himself, and I've always found it a very interesting business prospect.
What does your father? Is he a part of association, or is he here in London? Or
He's actually one of the presidents of. I'm trying to derail this whole royalty thing.
boo!
He's part.
That's too soon for derailments.
I didn't even realize. Sorry. No, her father's actually one of the 3 presidents of the insurance agency that we're representatives for. So
Yes.
they're always on the lookout for
I'll
business.
be honest with you, insurance business is just bores me to tears. I'm sure his trains clearly bore you to tears.
Well, we all have our interests, and
I picked up on your accent. All I wanted to know is if you were, if you take the train to Austria or not.
I have. I've taken it quite a few places throughout.
Did you take the Orient Express?
I have had the opportunity to, but have not taken.
I plan to travel on it this year. He actually, mentioning it, he was kind of looking for a way in because as soon as he heard Germans, he was like, "Yes, the Orient Express, I love it."
The house. What kind of is he? Well off, or is he just like
No,
this is
it's
his
a
mom's
common
basement.
It's a common house.
Okay.
Nothing super fancy. It does have a cellar where he, a lower level where he was keeping it. But I mean, it's covered in. Those of you that saw Stanley's room, it is far more organized and has more display pieces around. He doesn't this isn't like the association's meeting hall or anything, but this is where it is headquartered as he is the president thereof. So he does have lots of train history, books and things like that around. He has many sets and behind little displays, but it's his personal collection. But he also has model sets you can see elsewhere in the cellar. The reason why this train is not set up is because he's got a large table with terrain and everything where you can take. He's rebuilding or trying to make a replica of other train lines and things like that.
I have a feeling I'm heading to Paris soon, and I may take the Orient Express. Are there any perhaps tips or suggestions that you could make that would make my trip a little more informative?
He cheers up and begins to just wax rapturous about the wonders of such a trip.
While my employees pack everything up, please go ahead.
He just keeps. He talks about. He's like, honestly, I could talk about this all evening, but I do have a train association dinner tonight that you are encouraged to attend. My fellow train spotters would love to discuss and tell you about the Orient Express and it's just, I mean, the company that runs the train is just, the staff is exquisite. I do plan to travel. I plan to take the train sometime this season. Uh, honestly, the things that people talk about. Um, let me know. Are you interested in going to the association dinner?
But
Is there a whole
as
section
we're lugging
of
the thing up the stairs, I'm kind of like smirking and laughing at the invitation and like, have fun.
It's glorious. People speak of. We've had a few of our members that have taken the trip, and they can give you far more details about it than I can. I kind of read all the writings about it and the advertisements, and it's just so the stories are enticing. I mean, to the point that people say that they have wonderfully beautiful dreams upon the Orient Express. That the ride itself is a life changing experience.
Leo, like, she's like walking up the stairs, helping him in a dream. She's like, she just like looks down. It's like her head just like appears down.
Right, right. Doesn't it sound
figuratively.
lovely? It sounds wonderfully lovely to me as
That's-
well, Miss.
That is a word.
no,
Yes.
Mr. Was it Butterfield?
Just butter.
Butters.
Mr. Butter.
Could you
Just
tell me-
butter, not multiple butters.
Just singular
Not the
butter.
active butter.
Mr. Butter, could you tell me what would lead Mr. Stanley to go to a place like the Crescent Treasurer to find a train?
If I mean, if it had been displayed in a window or something, he would have stopped in. I really don't know. I didn't get to speak with him after he purchased it.
I
I assume it was in a window. That doesn't sound like a shop that he would normally frequent.
I have no indication that that was the case or wasn't. It was interesting that the gentleman who owned it previously, just that his affairs would have led it to be in a curiosity store and not more of a hobbyist store.
I mean, my understanding about the provenance, if you will, of such a thing is it was in the estate of someone. If someone picked up, purchased items out of that estate, then I would assume, you take what you get when you buy he could have bought a lot from an estate and ended up with it and just offloaded it. He only sold it for £1. He clearly didn't know. As I said, it's a beautiful set. It's just
Were it not for the
rather gruesome.
Yeah, were it not for the gruesome part, what would you expect to purchase such a set for?
Oh, I would say at least £10.
Let's see.
I mean, what could a train set cost?
Exactly. I don't know.
Probably
Well,
more
this
than a
is-
banana.
This has been interesting. If I have time this evening, I would be happy to attend the dinner. I would love to
Oh,
hear
wonderful,
more
wonderful.
about the Orient Express.
He gives you the information on where the dinner is being held, and yeah.
I definitely tuck that in
Ye-
my pocket and don't throw it away. Never throw that away.
Okay. He's like, well, again, if you find something that could find Mr. Stanley, I'd love to hear about it. But really, I'm rather glad you're taking it off my hands. But if the police do come calling for it, where can I reach you to retrieve it? Just to, I mean, I would let you give it back to the police, but that might look suspicious.
We have the number for the Oriental Club, right?
You do?
Yeah.
I will give him the fake name that we had earlier and that number.
Okay.
You can ring us at that number.
Okay.
Just ask for what was the doorman's name that was such a jerk.
Cadbury?
Jerk McPherson.
Oh,
Ask-
no. Shit, I don't remember.
Jerk
Just ask-
McPherson.
Ask for him and make sure that he understands that
Chamberlain? Something like Chaddock?
that you're
Chadwick?
looking for Alexis. That would be me.
Of course. Ma'am, miss, sir, madams, miss. As he says goodbye to all of you. down the line.
And you.
And you. Goodbye. If you do choose to come to the dinner tonight, it'd be lovely. 6 courses, I tell you, and brandy and cigars afterwards. So if any of that sounds enjoyable,
I do love
please do
good
join us.
brandy and cigars. Yes.
Leo's
So,
like, literally none of it. In her mind, she's like, none of this sounds appetizing.
Yeah.
I kind of whisper. I kind of say to Cleo, I'm very quiet. That would be the longest dinner ever.
We're also being terrible about people who enjoy trains. We know that Matt's family are train enthusiasts, and we're all being
Excuse
rude.
me, I want to be clear. Trains are dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it may not be trains, but I have my own particular obsessions on collectibles that no one else wants to hear about either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it's not like it's collecting weird occult things or anything weird.
The model train set at the Children's Museum in Indianapolis is phenomenal.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I love it. And they actually even have a full-size train inside the museum. So it's well worth that stop if you want to go to the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. Best children's museum in the world. I'm of that opinion.
And they no way and sponsor this stream.
Yeah, but they should.
And listen,
Well-
Cleo's getting more and more interested with trains by the minute. It's like, what
Yeah, I
could be
bet.
going on?
So the 4 of you depart, Mr. Butters,
With the train.
and you return to Johannes.
Yeah.
I assume.
Okay.
It's okay. It didn't burn.
I don't know
the
how
place down.
comfortable I feel taking an esoteric train set into my house.
It's okay. It didn't burn his apartment or his room
There
down.
are parks. There are all kinds of places you could go to play with the train set. It does have a battery, so it is not like you need an outlet or something
Perhaps
to plug it in.
Miss Brent, if we're going to take this to the house, we encourage the help to be elsewhere. In case.
I would rather not take it to the house if it causes any sort of damage similar to what it has been done to Mr. Stanley's residence.
I'm more concerned about the evaporation of people than damage to carpet and walls.
Well, we're not sure that he did not flee out the window.
And we're also not sure that he didn't get on the ghost train. So as long as you don't get on the ghost train, they're probably safe.
Don't ride the ghost train.
Yeah, no.
So
I
do you
could
take it
set
inside
up-
the house?
I could set up a protective boundary if that makes you more comfortable.
Would make me feel an incredibly large amount more comfortable, yes.
And don't turn the train on.
Okay.
Well, at some point we're going to turn the train on. At some point I'm going to
So, as I described, the train is mounted on hardwood board. It is large enough and heavy enough that it does need multiples of you, like 2 or 3 of you, to carry it comfortably. But it is, I mean, Mr. Stanley didn't seem to be able.
Just like
to have
walking
any
down
issue
the
with it.
street.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm so excited! I'm so posted up! I'm so excited!" And he just like just trots into town.
Hardcore nerd energy.
Yeah. I got the new magic set. It's great. There, you get, you take it to the house. And do you want to inspect it before you do like your protective-y stuff, or do you want to just do your protective-y stuff? First?
No, she wants to do the protective-y stuff as soon as possible, but she needs to know what she's dealing with before, it's not just like she's like,
Sure.
ooh, a salt circle.
Sure. Okay.
Wait.
She's got to figure out what she could
Wait.
be dealing with.
Kelsey, you should write that down, that salt circles don't work for everything, for, future generations.
Just put it in your diary, Kelsey. All right.
Work for a
So
lot.
give me an occult roll.
Okay.
Is there an investigation roll in that? No, that's D&D, right?
It is.
Okay. Did anybody else want to inspect the train set?
I will also look at the train set, but not
Yeah.
touch it because I'm not allowed.
Yeah, not touching, but I'm going to give it a closer look too while the circle's being done.
Are you touching the train, Cleo? Like, are you picking up? Are you looking at the
Not yet. She would
cards?
do it in stages. It's like she would get a general sense of it before she's just like grabbing it.
Okay.
So it's like it would go in
Hard success.
stages.
Can I make a mechanic repair check just to see, like, figure out, like, how it works and if there's anything weird about how
Absolutely.
it works?
Absolutely.
She does wear gloves on regular races, but she will be touching it.
Okay, that's fine.
I got a
It's
success.
Somebody's got to touch this train.
Cleo probably
right.
will eventually. She just
Hard
moves more
success
slowly.
on
Well, with
my mechanical repair.
fantastic. Kelsey, did you make any rolls?
Yeah, I was looking the train
General
over, looking for
invest-
markings, anything. I don't know anything about train tracks. I just want to see anything stands out as odd.
Okay, sure. So I'm gonna let me just tell you about it. So one of the things you notice, well, there's a lot of different things happening here. So one of the things you notice right off the bat, Emily, is that there is a large new battery that is providing the power. But again, you do confirm that this is not enough voltage to cause serious harm to anyone, and especially not to cause the level of damage and markings that you saw in that room. Um, the model itself is a small brown and black train in the style of the 1890s, with 2 wooden and metal coaches, a massive black engine, and a tender. Um, the track, while there is no scenery, a series of ramps alters the elevations as the train goes around. And it is a peculiar,
Peculiarly?
peculiar, peculiarly. That's, that's
Weirdly.
yeah, yeah, peculiarly twisted figure 8 pattern. Um, Upon close inspection, Kelsey, if you're looking at the train, you do find, Kelsey, you find that each car bears a different serial number and is different in small ways. So it's a very, there are a lot of details in this set. Lifting up the board, which you guys would have noticed this before, but as you're all looking at everything, Cleo, you would make note that the underside of the board is pinned a gentleman's handkerchief. Um, uh, Apparently to protect like whatever surface you're setting it on, to kind of give it a little like barrier. The initials RA are on one corner of the cloth. I don't know why Kelsey's so upset.
No, Kelsey's not. Shawn knows what's going on. Cursed object.
Let's touch it.
Yeah, let's touch it.
If you're
Let's turn it on.
specifically thoroughly examining the cars, Cleo would notice this, and Kelsey would notice this, and I guess probably Johanna as well. There seem to be strange symbols of unknown meaning etched into the undercarriage of each car.
I've never seen them before.
They definitely give you the impression of being occult in nature, but you are not entirely sure
So
what
each
they
car,
mean.
including like the engine, has the
Yes.
strange symbols on it.
Yes.
Are they carved in, written on?
They're like etched into
Okay.
the material.
So like someone did it potentially afterwards. It doesn't look like maybe it was built
don't
like
know?
that.
Oh,
You
like
don't know.
cast.
Yeah, that was my question. Was it cast or like?
You know, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't say specifically. It just says it's a wooden and metal coach. But the symbols, yeah, it says scratched on the undercarriage of each car. So it does seem as though it was after the fact. Let's see.
The Moon Crow
The
says that it spells out Andy.
Andy's coming.
What does this mean? Is this a name?
Um,
Sort of arcane.
Like the N backwards. Is it the N? One of the letters is backwards.
yeah, one of the letters. I think is it the D?
I thought it was the
Who
D.
knows?
It might
Is the D
be.
backwards? That's a question for another stream. Yeah, but just to because you have researched this a little bit, the toy train is modeled on the London Liverpool Express of 1897, and that year an express derailed at the cost of many lives. The details of the deadly crash can be found in newspapers of the period or in any good book on railway disasters. Butters even related the details to you. And you could tell that talking about the train wreck distressed him. He did not like that someone made a toy mimicking this terrible woe be ridden train.
Cleo would
out of
like to be clear that she doesn't think it's a toy.
Out of curiosity, if there Are there any pictures of the wreck? And are there any of the undersides of any of the carriages? Just to see if they have any weird symbols on them too.
There is. You would have to go back and find. In the researches that you found, there were no photographs of anything. It was just descript. There might have been a drawing of part of the train sticking out of the river that it derailed into.
Imagining someone doing a drawing and being like, "Look at this odd symbol.
Let me add this detail.
What is this?"
Let's see. The train derailed northwest of London under strange circumstances, and the engine, tender, and the first two carriages were never recovered from the river, in which they were presumed lost. The remaining carriages were totally wrecked. Over 100 people were killed or missing. Police and railway investigators speculated about anarchist involvement, but no cause for the disaster was ever shown. The diving team found nothing. Yeah, the diving team found nothing to recover, but the river had been high from unusual rains. Writers speculated that the missing coaches had been carried downstream. An unnamed official observed that 70-odd ton locomotives, at least, were unlikely to drift downstream or to drift anywhere. But there are those who find the supernatural in everything. The matter rested and was forgotten.
Did Randolph Alexis die in the back cars or in the part that disappeared?
Randolph Alexis was not found. His carriage was in the front. Was in the front of the train. Yeah. But I mean, everybody from the wreck is presumed dead. As we are coming down to the 8 o'clock hour, I am going to ask you all: do you run the train?
No.
Not yet.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Not a good idea. Not a good idea here. We could potentially take it somewhere and do that, but
all right,
not inside.
Not a worry. I just wanted to know before.
Maybe outside somewhere.
Yeah, you can run it anywhere. As I said, it doesn't need a plug. It has the battery. From everything that you could tell with your mechanical repair roll, it should work just fine.
Maybe we could take it to an open field, a little bit out of the way.
We should take it outside. I can set up protections for each of us, probably not for the train, but
I mean, if we start the train and then like move way back, we should be safe from any electrical discharges from the train, because I'm not.
Of course, yes. This is assuming this is a battery malfunction. I mean,
are you going to ask me what river, Matt?
Yeah.
And are there any landlines there?
It doesn't ever. It doesn't give me the name. I assume it's the Thames heading north out of London. I can look at them. It's not mentioned in the adventure though.
So Cleo, could I posit a theory to you?
Mm-hmm. You may.
I think that Randolph Alexis was conducting some sort of magical experiment on the train.
Could have been.
Having to do with the river. And the first half of the train disappeared, causing the back half to be destroyed. And his son recreated it, the part missing, to try and recontact his father, but it went awry and killed him. Or transported him, perhaps. I'm not sure. And that Henry Stanley is just a train enthusiast who had no idea what he was doing with an occult object, because why would he?
It's a very plausible theory. Hypothesis, technically.
Yeah, well, my English is not my first language.
I was correcting myself, not you.
Oh, okay. Is this something that people would do? Is this...
People do it. It's not the first time that I would hear of... I mean, certainly in this circumstance with the train and everything, yes, it's the first time hearing of it, but not the first time hearing of something occult going awry, someone trying to recreate a similar circumstance or a similar thing, either in order to communicate or to try to figure out what happened. It's not the first time something like that's happened. I've seen it.
I put in a call to the Hermetic Order of the... or to try and contact someone from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I would appreciate it if all four of us went together to discuss what might be going on. with the train specifically, I'd like to keep the Brotherhood of the Skin out of the conversation for the start. If it goes that direction, that's a whole other matter.
They are train enthusiasts. They're not curious about the unnatural.
Why not both?
Perhaps.
Yeah, we're gonna say that the river was probably River Brent.
Brent? Okay.
Before we close for the night, I'm going to slip away. I am going to send a somebody send a mail. I'm going to send a letter to Miss Atkins apologizing for there not being a big payout, but he did leave her something, and I'm going to put in the package the jewels that I got from that safe cracking that I did in the beginning, and tell her that she can.
He's gonna
that
get
these are-
arrested.
You're a monster.
I highly approve.
Oh, it's great. I love it. You're a monster.
and tell her that she could probably go to a pawn shop or something like that. And my name is not on that, but that this is worth a substantial amount of money, and that her time has been compensated.
Okay. So with that, I am going to say that we're going to wrap here tonight. And next week we will see what new things our group does, whether they run the train set. I mean, you guys you're getting down to two options. Run the train set or get on a freaking train.
Yep.
Well, if we run the ghost train, we don't have to pay for tickets.
The ticket is our souls.
I mean, if
Okay, that's bad.
should there be a ghost train, I highly doubt that they're going to check your tickets. But that said, I am going. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it there. And yeah, I had a good time tonight. I hope y'all did too. I am really. Don't ever ask to go see Constance Atkins again, because I'll never remember how I did her voice and or her demeanor. But
First thing we do
you
next
guys
game.
found out some interesting things. About what might be afoot here, and also some confusing leads. So.
Yeah.
Please join us for episode 6 next week at Sunday at 5 p.m. for more Horror on the Orient Express. My name is Rue, and I am on behalf of Alla, Alyssa, Matt, and Shawn, and John behind the camera. I want to thank you all for coming, and be safe out there. Play weird games. Play good games.
Definitely.
Talk to you next time. We love y'all.
Bye,
Good night.
friends.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.